In other classes, right? Sure, but like you shouldn't be able to have that on.
On the first pulse of the well.
Whoa! Fumigate increase.
Now that again they don't move with the scrapper, but yeah, currently my
No.
skill, and we felt that was just a little bit too powerful of an effect.
Cleansing field, medical dispersion field.
Fun little bit here is that the gyro is now going to be back in game.
Wait, throw mine. They just buffed this thing.
Gyro was
they buffed this thing like 3 weeks ago.
Now that it's a ground target effect, we made the gyro effect.
My feeling moves.
So we can,
yeah, this was kind of.
Show that, I guess.
This was a little bit degenerate. Throw mine. This is insane, right? I'm not crazy. This is actually insane.
So obviously I'd not be ready to.
Are we live?
Yes, we are live.
Roy with a haircut, man.
To the October 4th.
With the shirt, the bottle shirt. That's pretty funny.
And we're going to talk about some balance today, believe it or not. It's going to be pretty competitive focused.
Wait, I don't want my webcam to compete with Roy's beautiful face.
You know,
so I'm going to put myself in the corner.
We've been doing a lot of number changes to try to minimize the impact on other modes, but it's really important moving forward that we do targeted mechanical changes for competitive modes in addition to PvE modes, and just make sure that we are evaluating the impact and making sure that nothing too horrible is affecting the other modes, but we do need to make sure that we're making the good and the right changes.
Finally.
Competitive in addition to PvE.
Finally.
So I'm obviously Cal CMC Cohen, joined here by Roy Marks.
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
You know, Roy's kind of like an honorary balance team member.
Wait, Roy doesn't have his suit, though. I'm kind of disappointed. Usually he wears a suit. He's a well-dressed boy.
And
so far, none have gotten in, but
you know, since we're talking about competitive modes, it makes sense to have Roy, who's very world versus world focused. And also, if we were going to run out of time, then Roy is here because he can talk really fast. I think a lot of people may have a previous life.
Roy is a rap god.
Do that, but yes, I'm ready for that.
Yes, a suit.
So we're going to kick things off by looking
suit.
at the teaser image that we posted earlier this week. And
oh yeah.
Here it is in its full glory.
Ally targeted across the board for support.
As confusing as possible.
Support things.
Some people speculating that we've removed.
I think Guardian might get a couple of these. Maybe on staff.
Yeah.
Like staff auto attack might get that.
Couple of key changes.
Wait, no, it doesn't heal anymore. I'm stupid.
Pretty quickly. I think it took about 20 minutes before I saw
the
complete summary on Reddit. So the first one's kind of a freebie. The weird keybind on staff 2, A plus T. What could it possibly mean, Roy?
What could it be? Yes. So a lot of players did figure it out, and it is in fact ally targeting A&T. And so we had done this change as well to the first skill in the last update. We decided to do the same thing with the second skill. So it will now be able to target allies.
Yeah, it's no reason not to.
That is not the most exciting part about this teaser.
Which opens up a lot of doors for,
which is sort of, has kind of
Spectre-like ally targeting supports.
If you look at the pet health, that is not the standard pet health that you would see if you were playing Druid.
People did pick up on that.
Currently on live, it is in fact a little bit higher. And this is because we have removed the trade-off on Druid, which does lead us into, I think, the next sort of part of this segment.
Yeah, so first thing we're going to kind of talk about there's a few kind of major topics for this
trade-offs.
And the first one is kind of the revisiting of some of the elite spec trade-offs. Druid, obviously, a good example of what we've kind of identified as a bad trade-off.
Yeah,
that is not
Druid, the trade-off was just strictly awful.
It impacts more of how the spec feels instead of feeling like a more natural kind of balance knob to turn. Like you look at something.
You just hate to be like completely punished just to play like a class that you enjoy.
Harbinger Shroud, or replaced by the Scourge Profession mechanic, and that feels very natural. You know, you give up a Death Shroud and you get a new sort of shroud to fill the gap. And obviously, Necro's never going to have Death Shroud and Reaper Shroud, or Death Shroud and Harbinger Shroud. That doesn't really make sense. So Necro, Guardian, also a good example of a profession that usually has a sensible, very natural elite spec trade-off. But something like Druid, Soul Beast, these very much impact how the spec feels to play, and it feels just very unnatural. It does not feel like I am playing the...
When they removed the pet swapping for Soul Beast, I stopped playing completely. It was just not fun anymore.
A lot of these. Druid, Soul Beast, Scrapper in there a little bit with the vitality reduction is getting removed this update. There's a couple more that we'll talk about once we get into the profession section, profession update sections. We haven't touched all of the ones that we've identified as problematic for this update.
300 meme.
This is something that we're still investigating. We 100% want to get to a state
Yes, improving.
Mirage where we can
There you go. This is what I was talking about. People call me crazy. Improving AoE stability and stun break access.
Got to the level that we feel it is an
I was saying that a fucking game mode.
The impact of any change to Mirage, so that's still kind of in development.
That depends on one boon is bad.
Really want to get in, not for this update, but it's something high on our minds, especially.
Let's see what they say about that.
Trade-offs.
Yeah, so pretty much, we've got several trade-offs removed in this patch. Not every single one of them, and obviously there's going to be a few that we're just not going to really consider. Mirage being one of the ones.
Bladestorm.
And so in future
Bladestorm weapon swap.
Looking to
no trade-off, please.
But we have touched several of them. But additionally, they
got to CMC drinking water. That's funny.
So those have all been reworked. So there are no more traits with 300-second cooldowns on them.
Oh my
of
God.
course, I think about time.
It's about time.
Yeah, a little bit. They've been in this for a while.
I feel bad for them.
2.5 years?
Something around there. Yeah.
No big deal.
We've also
You got to feel for CMC. That's probably been like pushing for these kinds of changes for a long time. And
stun break access, so AV stun breaks in World vs. World specifically. Primarily, those are kind of on Firebrand and Guardian, the class there, and so we're trying to get those out onto some other specs, some other classes a little bit. And of course, we've got some general profession updates, and we'll be going class by class in each of those.
Yes, and we're going to kick it off with Warrior. The order
I like AoE stun breaks because
well, not completely arbitrary, but it's not,
they make it skillful, right? It's not just stability. Press stab,
we're gonna start with Warrior,
and
Warrior has a lot of good
you're
changes,
invulnerable.
or,
It's more like,
hopefully most of them are
you need
good.
stab and stun breaks.
But it definitely has the highest quantity of changes.
Oh, yes.
And something we'll see with this update is that
CMC,
some
Warrior main.
professions are getting
Warrior Ellie main.
This is kind of a bonus balance update that Josh talked a little bit about.
Let me get that overlay out of the way here.
We've kind of pushed back the next regular balance update to the end of November, and I really hope that was part of the post because otherwise.
Oh, just please.
Sure that was in the post. But anyway,
There's so many things
new
they can
information,
just
if not otherwise
rework to make this
but
fun.
this is kind of a supplemental competitive-focused update because of the delay in the regular balance update.
Please,
So some
defense
things
straight
that
line.
are
I'm pretty hype about that.
Underperforming. You see a lot of Warrior updates here because Berserker's not great. Spellbreaker's definitely.
A reason why Warrior was so fucking good in PvP for a long time is defense was just so good.
Changes.
Like,
there's gonna be fewer changes to things.
it had so much. Like, it just stacked so much
a few changes
defense
there for all
abilities
classes. Just
without having
try
too much trade-off
perfectly balanced
in terms of damage,
changes.
and
It's
then
definitely,
CC did
focus
damage
on
also at
trying
the
to
time, so
improve a lot of underperforming
it was
stuff.
really hard to play against.
Absolutely.
That's why I got
we're just gonna dive
nuked.
into Warrior.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about some of the high-level stuff we have going on here, Roy?
Sure, absolutely. So we've obviously.
I just seeing these
got
words,
Berserker.
I'm getting excited.
We're going to be removing the trade-off for.
Although microphone issues.
We've got the defense trait line rework that we're going to be talking about, and we'll get deeper into that. Obviously, we'll show that on screen. We've got some Bladesworn updates, like Cal mentioned. We got specifically for PvP some Spellbreaker updates. Those won't really be touching World versus World, and then just some general World versus World, Warrior changes for skills and traits.
Yep. So we'll kick it off with Berserker.
What's up, Gary? Just in time
mechanic here is
for the
obviously
best class.
the trade-off
I'm very
mechanic.
excited about this.
There's a few significant updates around one of the traits, and then just how the kind of profession mechanic of the specialization works. A couple updates to rage skills that we'll talk about.
I have my
a couple
wish
updates
list.
to Torch and a couple of trade updates.
of
We're going to show a
things.
lot of this off in game, so let's just hop in and show off some Berserker stuff. So first things
Ooh.
first, I am currently a Berserker, and
Whoa!
what is this?
Charge!
This is an F1 skill.
You get charges.
So Berserker has its old F1 back. This was how if you played during the initial release.
Warrior's
of
back,
Warrior,
baby.
This will probably look pretty familiar to you.
Warrior's back.
So now the primal bursts are going to be something you enter. Berserker is going to be something you enter.
Yes.
Instead of
Is this also PvE? Because this is a big deal
choosing
in PvE.
your just normal burst skill. So you have that interaction back, which is obviously going to be very great. We've done some updates as well to a couple of the primal bursts, but also to the rage skills.
Right. So the other key piece here is that when Berserker lost access to the core burst, Berserk was changed into a kind of burst skill of its own to kind of fill the gap of the missing burst skill. But fundamentally, that is just a bit more clunky in terms of gameplay. Because if I'm playing Berserker, I want my primal burst. I want to enter Berserk, and I want a Skull Grinder, or I want to Rupture.
Attack boost. Okay.
Maybe,
So it's the
maybe
same
after this patch.
thing.
Yeah, maybe. But so
Doesn't
we've changed back
change.
to the old version, which is a rage skill, not super relevant outside of the one trait, but it is again
Okay.
going to be an instant Berserk entry, because then we're going to have immediate access to primal burst. We
Ah.
don't need the burst skill anymore, and There's going to be a couple of trade
That's-
updates that
And people have been asking for that for so
lack
long.
of burst skill on that entry again, but just making the spec feel a lot more fluid and giving access to what people really care about here. Which
Oh my
is
god,
skill.
this is actually sick.
A couple minor updates to Primal Burst we might as well talk about right now.
Yep.
Rupturing Smash. This
These
would
would
be
do
a
damage.
Complete in front of you attack. You know, 180 degrees in
Oh,
front
this
of you.
is
It's now
cool.
a much
That's so
larger circle that
huge.
Attacks in a 360 degree.
What?
Which is
That's
the same
huge.
As, Earthshaker, the core
Yeah,
burst.
just a nice little kind of quality of life usability update.
That's like
Similar
600
flame flurry, the
stun?
projectile speed a little bit. Not really. It's a little bit inconsistent sometimes against moving targets, so we just bumped it up. You know, I think it was like 300 units per second or something.
Okay,
Nothing super exciting, but it should make it slightly more reliable there.
cool.
And while we're on this weapon set, we could probably talk about Torch if you want to.
That's true. We could just jump.
That's
into
pretty
torch
big.
skills. Flipping the script. Last time we talked about rage skills during. The
Yeah.
We'll talk about torch.
You get 2 charges.
And so
They're going a little ham on charges.
announced Cleanse and additional condition.
Oh,
And
nice.
The 4th skill is an ammo skill, as well as a blast finisher now.
So these
Ooh.
changes. The blast finisher on Torch 4 is going to be.
Oh, that's actually really good.
The ammo is only for PvP and Worldly World, and the
actually quite good.
Condition cleanse increase is only PvP Worldly World, but it adds some nice little synergy to the kit because you know.
Torch 5 is
get
actually
some
is
blast
already
finisher
like a
to
good
give
skill.
yourself a little bit more might.
It's just
Torch,
it's a
kinda
little
not great.
hard to
Trying to make it
use
a little bit more
in the
exciting.
kit.
It's still going to be hard to compete with stuff like Shield or mostly just Shield. But maybe this incentivizes some more one-hander plus one-hander
Yeah.
on both sides instead of doing a great sword or a longbow on the offense.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's like 600 fucking range.
Who knows? But now
AoE.
we can finally get into Cal's.
Right?
Of course, the rage
It looked
skills.
like a
Back to the rage
600.
skills.
Go back to the rage skills, exactly.
Holy
I mean,
shit.
Nothing too
Okay.
crazy with the rage skills. Something that happened similarly with the previous update to Berserker a long time ago, like years ago, Berserker update, is that all these skills got changed into Berserk extenders, and
Yeah.
Adrenaline was removed from a lot of them. And that really hit competitive pretty hard because you
Yeah,
need
it's quite
more
good.
adrenaline gain. It's a lot harder to gain adrenaline. So we've gone through and we've added adrenaline back to
Oh, nice.
basically all of them. The ones
Why
that
not,
had it
you know?
maybe got bumped up a little bit. The ones that don't have it now have adrenaline again. Shattering Blow, for example, we have 10 adrenaline gain here. Just to, again, make it slightly more reliable to enter Berserk mode, have access to your burst.
And that was meta.
The
Like when this
caveat here is that we
released,
split the
this skill was
Berserk
really
mode
good.
extension down significantly in PvP and Worldly World. And the primary focus is the adrenaline.
Okay.
In PvE, we're keeping the extension high and the adrenaline gain is much lower.
Didn't want to completely shake up how it feels to play Berserker in PvE. Obviously,
Okay.
the change we're making with the trade-offs and.
I hope you still get you get the burst skill
change
back
things,
in
but you still will
PvE,
have the Berserk extensions.
right?
And then we did make a pretty interesting change for Headbutt as well. Previously or currently on live, Headbutt will actually remove stability if you have it. and
Oh, yeah.
That will increase the damage from the skill.
That's really
That
stupid.
will no longer happen. You won't remove
I-
stability.
this is so
if you want
weird.
to combine it with something like Shattering Blow, or if you get stability from a different source, then you will no longer remove stability and you won't stun yourself. However, we obviously wanted to, again, not affect PvE as much, and so the damage increase is just going to go baseline into the skill for PvE.
Yeah, it's a good
I talked
change.
a little too fast.
It's just stuff that like
get as much
they
volume.
added over time
Totally
that
fine.
just
Yeah, so this is, again, pretty
weighted
exciting,
down
like,
the class so much, and
Shattering
then
Blow or any stability source into Headbutt is
and then
kind of
other
a
classes got
big
all these
Berserker
things, and
interaction
then
from
they just didn't like
Once
touch
upon a
warrior
time, that was a
stuff.
big interaction, so that is now once again a possibility.
So then other classes kept like out
So I
creeping
think we have
warrior.
a couple of trait changes to talk about.
They're just so scared of gaming warrior stuff because people hate fighting warriors because they have CC and damage.
We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But
Just
for
learn
now,
to
we
play,
have a
man.
couple
Learn to
of
play.
Berserker traits that we've updated.
Just get good.
So the
off
first one
yeah,
is
you wanna
Dead
talk
or
about
Alive.
Dead or Alive.
Yeah, Dead or Alive. So
Ooh.
previously,
Whoa,
this
that's
was
fucking
that,
good.
While you were in Berserk mode, if you took
Yo,
it
that's
and it would
good.
heal you, we wanted to try to move away from sort of that passive effect a little bit. And so now
Holy
what will happen is
shit.
When you enter
Wait.
Berserk mode, you'll gain a few seconds.
Berserker
2.5 seconds. in
might be
attack.
good. Where else is,
Of
wait,
blood
there's some
rushing, light
changes
heal
here.
bonus. This isn't going to be the entire heal. It's not going to give you adrenaline. It's not going to just give you
Okay,
flat heal.
this is
You
really
will get that
fucking
light heal
strong.
bonus for 2.5 seconds when entering Berserk mode.
For
So
two and a
kind of
half
there's a little flavor
seconds.
of that old trait still there, but again, it's more of an active.
Holy shit.
Keeping it in the same vein, sustain trait. It's pretty. This one's actually pretty exciting, honestly.
Yeah,
Like I'm.
It's a good trait.
This is
interested to
really
see How
good.
this plays out. And
Is there a way you can
another slight
combo,
update-
like,
we're
two
gonna talk
Blood
about-
Reckoning?
can we talk
No.
about Fatal Frenzy?
Because you have to
Yeah,
go into
You
Berserker
might
first.
notice that this trait doesn't reduce your toughness anymore.
Right, that's the trade-off.
Oh. Oh, there you go.
Besides, obviously, giving back.
Is-
Another trade-off that Berserker had.
Yeah.
So pretty
Now
important.
now it doesn't
Forgot that.
it doesn't give you minus
Anyway, final
300
trait change here
toughness.
is Bloody Roar. this is now also going to give you resistance when you enter Berserk mode. This really kind of
Nice.
more to the power spike moment of entering Berserk. And
Wait,
one
this-
of the goals here was that we could actually bring the damage bonus
I think
down a
Berserker
little
might
bit,
be good now.
because once upon a time,
War versus World, right?
applied or inflicted taunt.
Yeah.
Am I
in
crazy?
Berserk mode, very unhealthy. That was removed, and the damage bonus just got cranked up pretty high.
Yeah, the
which
taunt was pretty
actually
stupid.
creates some amount of problem, regardless of Berserker actually being pretty weak overall. It deals a ton of damage right now.
Yeah.
And it's almost an unhealthy amount of damage, so we wanted to add something back here on resistance, or add something back here on Bloody Roar.
Okay.
Give it a nice little bonus so we could bring the resistance.
Yeah, I mean, this trade
a
alone,
little bit. So 10% gain some resistance. Pretty exciting stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of excited for this.
And I believe that is pretty much it for Berserker.
Yes, so
I
we're
say
gonna-
pretty much it. Obviously, that's quite a lot of stuff. We're
lot
hoping
of-
to see some more
Okay.
Pretty
Berserker,
exciting changes.
Berserker gaming.
Yeah.
And the next
With a
thing that we'll talk
600
about will
stun,
probably as well
I mean-
help
Defense.
help with Berserker. Yes.
That's gotta be kinda good,
As we
right?
mentioned at the start, we are removing 300-second traits. There were a couple of those
let us
in
swap
this
some
trait line.
traits.
Oh, yeah.
And so we will be obviously talking about those, but we reworked.
Where
more
are
than
they?
just
There's, like, this
300-second
one.
defense.
Whoop, spoiler.
Oh,
No, this one.
Well, there we go. Cal's going crazy.
Trying to just turn off the flashing thing. That was a common point of feedback during the first beta preview, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad we're iterating the feedback.
We're learning.
Yeah.
Yes.
But obviously, defense is a trait line that you don't really see played very often right now. And it used to be a pretty common trait line. You'd play it in PvP, you'd play it in World versus World.
That's
obviously
alright.
After the 300-second trait.
I mean, you don't really need that.
Just some various other things. You don't really see it being played as much. So we're hoping that reworking not the entire trait line, but most of it is going to help push it into the meta a little
There's
bit.
definitely a lot of changes.
Yeah, a lot of changes for defense. And so we're hoping to see, this should help Warriors specifically in larger scale fights for World versus World. It's a really good trait line for that. But also just some interesting new builds in PvP. And yeah, we're very excited about
Yeah,
that
so we can kick.
Yeah,
off
you
with
missed the
300
return of
levels
Warrior. That's what you
that
missed.
Existed in this trait line. We'll just start with the Phi Pain. So previously this was,
Yeah, that's true.
Pain,
We don't know.
pretty fun,
Okay, ooh, okay.
Pretty boring, pretty uninteractive. It's
Yes,
So something we've been doing with
oh,
a
barrier.
decent chunk of these is just making the trigger happen on elite skill instead of on a passive health threshold or passive interaction of some kind.
Ooh, cast
So
lesser
this just
endurance
makes it a lot more
pain.
active.
When
Very
you use
exciting
an elite
with
skill.
Headbutt, which
Yeah.
notably is in
Not bad,
Berserk,
not
18
bad.
second cooldown. And currently we don't have a cooldown on the Defy Pain trait. We just kind of want to see how it goes. Berserker.
I don't think you need a cooldown. I mean, that means like, that means that
could push it over the
every-
top. We can always add a cooldown so it pretty much
how do
only
you-
affects headbutt. But for this update,
So
we're
that, does that
just
mean
gonna
that
apply.
it
It's
casts
very exciting where we
Defy
work
Pain
with
before
equipment, we didn't
any
do
elite skill? That means every elite skill is a,
less so. Maybe
can be
significantly,
a
there's
a
an
stun
update
break,
for that a little bit later. Not
which is a little bit crazy.
why does it give barrier? Someone noticed it gives barrier.
So you could run like,
So that's actually due to the
I mean, Headbutt is already a stun break,
which previously gave
but you could run like
balance
Signet
and
Rage
disabled, also very unhealthy.
or Rampage
To the point
being
that it had
a
cooldown. So that's just
stun
gonna
break
fill out entirely,
actually
and
is
this
kinda
now gives you
crazy.
your own stance. Notably for things like Defiant Stance or Endure Pain, the barrier application is going to be pretty logical. Where when I cast
Well, I
Endure
didn't
Pain,
see
don't
it.
get barrier immediately, but once my Endure Pain
Ah.
ends, then I get the barrier from that trait. Whereas stuff like Frenzy is going to work as you expect to get the barrier.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
Absolutely. And of course, this is a pretty big interaction for Defiant.
Barrier on
We didn't want to.
stance is nice.
Yeah. We didn't want to put it at the beginning because then you'd soak up some of the damage you were
No,
trying.
yeah, that make no
Yeah.
sense.
Just like Cal said, it'll happen at the end.
And similarly, we changed Thick Skin here.
It's not bad. I don't think you run it, but
While you're above
I think
health
it's more.
threshold,
This is more of a
not
PvP like
super impactful, not super exciting. Now it's going to get
sort of
effective melee
dueling.
skills, so just a bit more of a potent defensive option.
like side noter.
Defiant Stance is going to give you protection after the buff duration ends.
So you're gonna have a bit more of an option here. Maybe if you're running against
Could talk about Shield Master. Let's talk
maybe
about
more like
Okay. All right, we'll go right into
Conditions?
A little bit more exciting.
this is gonna be
So
pretty
we're doing
good.
A couple things similar to what we've done with this trait
Because of,
so adrenal health. So previously,
because
you
of,
might notice if you
cleansing
look at
ire.
adrenal health, that it now has a extra sort of charge there.
Ooh.
This is obviously specifically aimed at Berserker. and
Oh, that's
Berserker,
4 now.
whose burst skills and primal bursts only are 1 block of adrenaline.
It's a lot of
This will give
healing.
you a baseline 1 charge, as well if you are on Core Warrior.
That's quite a bit
you
of
get all
sustain.
3 of them, which would be 4. 3 plus 1 is 4.
Yes, there's some math you might have to do now.
Yeah.
You get 1 stack baseline plus 1 stack per bar of adrenaline spent. And this,
I mean, it's over 15
so,
seconds.
the number has
but
been
it's not
adjusted
bad.
to make sure that we don't blow out the healing number too much. But it's still going to be a bit of a buff in competitive modes.
It was definitely an issue
But
when
overall,
when
kinda got hit
defense
a little bit
was
harder than it maybe should have been.
meta. It was an issue
Interaction
because
is
you'd
what
stack
was
healing signet
1 bar of
Plus
adrenaline
that,
is
plus
2
cleansing
strength.
ire,
It's
and
two
you just had like
cleansing ire.
1,000 plus like healing per
Toggle up and
second on yourself.
Same
but
sort of thing.
kind of bridging the gap of what the Berserker interaction used to be. 1
Uh,
bar gives you
when you hit a
3 times
Berserker,
on primal bursts versus what it is now 1 for 1.
yeah, that's pretty much
so
what
this
it
is. Just
is.
a nice nod to Berserker,
That's the
nice
same
nod
thing.
to Spellbreaker, making these traits feel a little bit more impactful when you are only spending 1 bar.
This isn't bad. It's kind of a
And we have a similar
cool
trait
option, I
for
guess.
quick
I mean,
power.
it makes it not useless, basically.
I guess we can just
Or, yeah,
hover,
we-
hover right now.
Mango pie, yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, with
Same
mango
thing, 4
pies.
stacks, 2, 3, 4. and
Oh,
7,
cool.
3, 3.
So
Wait.
nice little bonus there for some of the specializations that don't.
Did I see it
normally have
right?
access to
There's just
access
an
to
extra
adrenaline. Should be
7.
helping out
Do you get
again.
an extra
You know,
7%?
we're looking to see some interesting interactions with the defense straight line and Berserker, obviously, really hoping to push Berserker into the metal a little bit. Yeah, so defense Berserker should be a pretty good time.
Let's do it.
Did you see Berserker power?
So those are I'd say, you know.
It had
the
another
major
stack, but
ones,
was
we
it
still got some other traits to look at here.
another
For
7%?
instance,
'Cause that's
Shield
insane.
Master.
Minor update to Shield
Ooh.
Master. Instead of granting might, it's going to give you adrenaline.
Okay.
So might was kind of something that felt a bit out of place in defense straight line. There's
Wasn't it like that
usually
before?
might makes right if you take strength defense, but adrenaline gain here plays into adrenal health better, plays into
forget.
ire better. Just having more adrenaline is very kind of thematic to defense, so we switched up this.
That's good, though.
There's also no more.
That's really strong.
Right. So that is another relevant thing to talk about. A lot of the time.
But Dogged March is also a very good trait
that
if
give
you're
a
going
cooldown
against.
reduction. It's something we're probably going to try to remove.
I think you still run Dogged
Historically,
March.
We've seen problems around these traits.
The
where
Shield Master
certain
doesn't
builds
reduce the
that
cooldowns on
reduction
Shield
make
anymore.
The cooldown of a particular skill too low. We saw this mostly.
No, it's the same icon.
Skills and Shadow Arts.
I'm pretty sure.
Thief gave
Looks
deception.
like the same icon.
And so we nerfed all the cooldowns of the Deception skills because of the cooldown reduction granted from Hidden Thief, but that made the trait, or made the skills just a little bit too weak when you weren't able to play Shadow Arts take Hidden Thief. So this is just a way that we can essentially make the skills
One thing
balance
that
on a
about,
particular cooldown and not
like
worry
warriors,
about
that
it
they've
too low.
leaned so hard on might mix right, so that they give they've like balanced warrior around.
Later, cooldown reduction
You have to run might makes right to like
and then when
do
we're removing
anything,
this cooldown
right?
reduction from the trait,
So like
we'll
Mage
kind
Bane
of
tether
evaluate
and
if
stuff
it's
like that.
necessary. If this is a commonly used trait, we'll usually roll it in baseline. Or
Or like things in tactics where, you know, you get might on burst and stuff like that. Like they really like leaned in on the fact that you have to run might makes right.
So after
As
that,
like a
we,
Band-Aid
spike
solution.
Cold Weak, instead of applying weakness to anyone you hit under half health, it's now going to be applied on burst skill. And this just makes it a bit more controlled, get weakness when you want, and of course, Skull Grinder.
Yeah, there you go, strike damage.
So now you can apply weakness with your
That is not bad. That is not bad. Weakness is
not a
really
huge
good.
thing there.
too crazy.
Next up, we've got-
People underestimate weakness in competitive modes
This used to be a trait called
in
Armor
duels.
Attack, which kind of sucked, honestly.
Yeah.
yeah, so now it will just
Whoa,
be dodge.
dude, these traits are
This is
so
a trait
good.
you have obviously and kind of thematically fits in defense.
What the
Putting
fuck?
it on the dodge, so you know it's,
This is
again, it's a little
legit.
bit more of sort of you're getting it when you expect to. You know, you're specifically doing something to get resistance there.
Right, and then some people might have noticed
This is
icon
very
that's
good.
waiting underneath the bottom.
Yes.
Oh,
What could it be?
wait,
Icon
Merciless
that
Hammer.
Actually stolen from the strength.
Oh, yeah.
Straight line.
It was right
It's
here.
also been noticed, but this is Merciless Hammer.
Yeah, Merciless Hammer is now
Back from a long
in
vacation.
defense. Indeed.
I remember
The
skill
last
deal
time
increased damage when
Merciless
striking a
Hammer was in
disabled
defense
foe.
was before
Angela
the
Winter to blow.
trait system was last updated.
It's alright.
Before Heart of Thorns launch.
Yeah.
If anyone remembers that. I believe it used to be trait number 10.
It was one of those, for
Yes.
sure. Yeah, so it's now back.
Yeah, it used to be in
defense.
strength.
We thought that it kind of made a little bit more sense to be here. We've
Yeah, I like
also
it there.
sort of
It's good.
combined it with the mace
What is this
trait,
one,
which
then?
just
That's the
wasn't
mace
really
trait.
Getting a lot of value. So now
The
Merciless
Mace
Hammer.
trait was just very bad.
Sure, that's another way of saying it. And so Merciless Hammer will now essentially be the hammer trait and the mace trait. But again, it just makes a little bit more sense to put it here in defense.
But the mace trait wasn't that
You know,
good, so
kind
what's...
of trying to push here. It is a little bit more aggressive than.
It's weird that
you know,
it's
a lot of the
stuns,
other
dazes, knockdown
defensive
applied by
traits.
mace skills last
But we
longer,
just
mace
think
skills
that kind of
scanners.
makes sense, you know,
Yeah, I mean, it's not really like a master
play a bit more
grandmaster
defensively,
trait.
offensively if you want to,
Worthy.
instead of opting in for the slightly more defensive traits in the same columns.
And again, the adrenaline gain on this trait, very nice for
Yeah.
you know the cleansing eye or the adrenal health interactions. It just makes a lot more sense in defense, so we wanted to move it. We'll talk about what replaced it in a little bit. We didn't just move Sundering Mace up to strength.
No.
Well, that was-
Okay.
That would have
I
been
think
fun.
we have
They
one
did
more
change
trait
it.
here in defense to talk about. And
Yes.
it's, which one? It could be the bottom Grandmaster trait.
This one.
It could be, and I think
it used to be a trait
it
called
is.
Rousing Resilience.
Right, rousing resilience, which if you are
Gives you
aware
like
of,
1,000
It's no longer
toughness.
called Rousing Resilience.
and it's no
Gives
longer
me
that
disable a
trait, but it's
foe.
interesting. It was an
Whoa!
interesting
Gain
trait.
stability when you
A
disable
little
a
bit
foe. Deal
counterintuitive.
increased
Kind
strike
of
damage when you have
punished,
some.
players for getting stunned
Wait.
off, and it kind of rewarded you for getting stunned. which is a good
Wait.
interaction, or behavior.
These traits are really weird.
So we've got rid of that trait and just put a new one in.
There's a lot of traits that are just
Now
really
gain
good on their
stability
own.
when you use CCFO again, kind of, or disabled.
This is
focus,
cool.
Kind of, going in with that same sort of vein of it fits a little bit better with this trait line, and it also,
Yeah, quite a second.
more defensive option.
Well, it's
And
just to
of
like
course,
not,
you'll gain increased strike damage while you are under the effects of stability.
so you can kind of
Just a nice
delay your
kind
stuns.
of
But that's 1/4 is a bit crazy.
These are things that kind of make sense.
I'm a little,
to kind of break the mold a little bit, as long as it's something.
But this is cool. Like, there's a lot of these traits I feel like give you a lot of options instead of being like, well, this is going to be the best trait. You can be like, well, I'm against a bunch of Condi Mesmers, or I'm against Spectres, or I'm against, a Catalyst maybe. I'm going to have to 1v1 this class or this class, or maybe a Untamed. And you can choose like maybe versus Untamed, you get this one, Rousing Resilience.
Skip over, Spellbreaker.
You can maybe get this one instead.
Let's do it.
The Called It Weak instead of Dogged March.
Alright, so let's do it. So as you mentioned before, Berserker's
There's a
Power,
lot of options
now
here.
Did get the same sort of change as Adrenal Helm.
Gain quickness when you disable enemy.
Again, just
Well, you have quickness. You remember
so aggressive
these
onslaught
traits?
is
Holy
replacing
shit!
Merciless
What?
Hammer. And so this is now
What?
gaining quickness when you disable foe. So similar to Merciless Hammer,
This is good.
Star Strength. But it'll now give you quickness when you disable foe.
What?
It'll also increase your speed by 25% while you're under the effects of quickness.
Okay.
And important note here is that it does stack with other movement speed buffs.
It
If you have
stacks.
super speed, and quickness, you're going to be zooming.
Very much
No!
so. You think about
Super
Berserker,
speed. Okay,
quickness,
Berserker and
Berserker already. So you have this,
What?
you get to, run very
CMC
fast.
is truly unleashed.
I'm gonna try it out.
Holy
it's competing with some of the
shit.
most powerful traits in Warrior, honestly, with Berserker's Power and Might.
That's really fucking
We're working
good.
Something a little bit
I'm thinking
interesting and
Berserker is
exciting
back.
here, and we're gonna see how it plays out. And
There's a lot of traits that really interact with
it's
Berserker
interesting for sure.
and how what Berserker wants to
We
do.
can, jump into some Spellbreaker changes.
Dude, this
Yeah,
is
a lot of
so
the
good.
Spellbreaker
It's
changes in patch are going to be primarily aimed at PvP.
okay.
They
Let's
are
see.
only aimed at PvP. And so
Okay.
obviously Spellbreaker is pretty good right now in World versus World. But in PvP,
Ooh, that's good though. But you don't run Revenge Counter. You run Mage Bane Tether. It's so much better. Well, I guess if you're not running Might Makes Right, then you don't really need Mage Bane Tether, because now you have a bunch of traits that are like, that gives you like this the big speedy movement and
Spellbreaker, a few changes for Spellbreaker.
like
And some of these are core.
if you're able to get to
Warrior skills, but they
your
are
target
very
faster
much in the vein of
and much more easily with like resistance and stuff like that, then you're
slide instead of the drawer.
you're doing pretty good. You don't need the Mage Bane Tether maybe if you don't run Mage.
A big goal of this patch.
You don't run Might Makes Right.
Some nice number improvements here.
A lot of resistance is nice because no blinds, no weakness. Those are like,
so good.
you have that on Warrior, you just hate your life.
Let's just cut this one. It's pretty exciting. So
Yeah, these are good. I mean, it's just increase base barrier. That's like a lot.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sure, I can talk about Blade.
Okay.
The last run
Yes,
that we did,
Bladesworn is mega
Switch
bug.
it up. All right,
Switch it
fine,
up.
I'll take Bladesworn. So Bladesworn, we've only got a couple of changes for it. Obviously, the first one there is going to be a bug fix. So now
Okay,
there was
this
a
is
bug
good.
fix.
This is good.
The Dragon Trigger could go on a lower cooldown than expected. That is no longer going to be in the game. Dragon Scale Defense is now going to be the same as it was in the beta with the cooldown. And it now
Whoa.
has protection instead of stability.
This skill now only recharges Bladesworn skills?
This was how it behaved in the first beta test for Bladesworn,
Okay.
and it got changed to stability as part of a kind
Why?
of PvE-focused idea of, I'm going to be going into Dragon Trigger and
But-
channeling for a long time, so having stability makes sense. But in
What?
competitive modes, it's a bit too powerful of an effect to put on that kind of
I'm
trigger. We've seen
confused.
how problematic it is when obviously the cooldown.
This is a very weird nerf
If we actually fix
because
that,
it doesn't really
then
nerf
we probably
anything.
have to put too long of a cooldown so the trait doesn't feel great.
Oh yeah, I guess you run the
We just
shouts. I
changed it
mean,
back to
yes,
protection and
yes.
brought the cooldown
So
back.
no more shouts.
Still that defensive
Okay,
option, but
that's fine.
maybe not quite as
Douche.
crazy. Yeah.
Bladesworn is absolutely
Last
fucking
change is
stupid.
a little bit crazy. So PvP
It's so spammy.
Bladesworn is running a little rampant, and obviously the first two.
You just
changes
shout, 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 shout. Tactical reload. Shout, 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 shout. Like what?
But we're definitely thinking
Like what is this
will be a lot
gameplay?
more impactful. So
Press F2 and
tactical
spam.
reload
You don't even need. People don't even charge F2 anymore. Like you just F2 use it on cooldown. Like
So previously,
who cares?
Currently in live, it will recharge ammunition skills.
It's
ammunition.
really degenerate.
And so this obviously has a
This
pretty
is
strong
good.
interaction with shouts on Warrior. So this is aimed at making it makes a little bit more sense.
But if you look at this, like like just in the context of how it is right now, you're like, holy shit, that's a huge nerf. But then if you look at all the trait changes that they've been doing, like there's a lot of things that you can do here to like counteract this and actually make the class more kind of less spammy, more interactive to play with and against because of all the new traits.
Yeah, the real important.
I like that.
Is a huge change. This is a very impactful change for competitive modes, and it could very much push Bladesworn out of the meta.
Yeah.
But the key thing and the reason why we made this change is because it really puts the skill mechanically where we want it to be.
Yeah.
Focusing on.
It's a good change, right? Even if it puts it out of meta, which I don't think it will. I feel like
Gunsaber kill a lot more exciting, or make some of the utilities.
There's a way,
and we can bring the cooldown down. It's just much more.
Yeah, they can buff other things a little bit, right?
Not have to always be worried about what tactical reload is doing every time.
But now it's balanced. You know what I mean? Like if they balance it, then they can bring the stuff that's a little low on the balance, a little higher to bring it up.
If this pushes Bladesworn on the meta, we'll be looking for ways to bring it back very quickly.
That's really good. So you like you love to hear that.
So if it does delete Bladesworn, that's not ideal. But it is putting the skill into a place where we want it to be mechanically.
That's really good.
Balance from there.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And that is it for the elite specs. We got a couple of sort of general world versus world.
There's just a few general warrior.
I keep calling it world versus world instead of warrior.
Well, this first one is pretty exciting for world versus world.
Ooh, wait.
And so as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, one of the goals with this was to try and get some more AoE stuff.
Okay, it's basically back to what it was.
Aren't as usable, as strong right now, as specifically the firebrand ones.
Shake it off.
And so shake it off is going to be one of those. So
now breaks allies out of stuns.
However, in the current way that it is.
There you go.
It is an ammo skill with 2 charges. We're going to be bringing.
So now you have to run that.
Charge for world versus world in PvP. The cooldown, of course, alongside that will be going down from 75 seconds all the way down.
Signet of Rage. Oh, finally! Signet of Rage had like a super long
cooldown. And should be pretty.
That's all right.
Warrior taking it on some sort of support build to help stunbreak allies out.
Okay, I love that. That's really good.
Signet of Rage is kind of just an extra add-on that we had in the update because we were thinking about. When
Whirling Axe, reduce power coefficient.
Cool less cool with maybe Rampage.
Yeah, man.
More elite skills, so maybe
this is an issue.
Rage was a bit more.
Wait, Earthshaker.
Some use out of that.
They're gonna reveal that they put damage on Earthshaker, which is great.
Much faster.
I mean, it is.
Not sure people
like I'm not gonna argue with it, Gary, but
kind of a first step.
They're really like for like months now they've been pushing DPS warrior out and really pushing support warrior, which it's good, but it kind of sucks that it's already not that good in open field, like up to big Zerg numbers.
Feel terrible to be hit by in one-shot players, and obviously we'll still be keeping an eye on action and seeing how it's performing. And then
Earthshaker.
Yeah,
I think it's still. I think you still run it.
There is a change to this.
Yeah.
It's
it does damage.
Can you guess the change? Actually,
it does damage now. I think damage back.
Try to guess.
Chat might be able to guess the change here.
Please.
So we kind of want to slow roll it as much as possible by leaving it blank here. We are adding a bit of damage back onto Earthshaker. And
a bit of damage.
Also to Skullcrack and Prime Light Beam for this update.
Prime Light Beam?
And this is kind of an important philosophy concept to talk about.
Shit.
Talking more about philosophy.
Holosmith back?
Philosophy. And that's something that we're going to be presenting to players at some point. A really important idea when working on a balanced philosophy, which the 0.01 change was initially, is the idea of when you can break the philosophy. And this is something that dates back to a very old document internally from one of the original Guild Wars 2 balance designers, who basically the first bullet point of their philosophy was there are no rules. The first rule is that there are no rules. You need to understand when you can break the rules and when it makes sense to break the rules.
Yeah, I don't think it'll put. You're still pretty dependent on like
never going to be all
melee.
or always perfect. And
I don't think it's going to make Holo like meta or anything.
Earthshaker and Skullcrack and Prime Light Beam is kind of the first step in.
I want to see how much damage F1 does though. Earthshaker does.
Because it's very good.
Because
I'd say a lot of
nice.
Where we kind of brought the damage down from CC skills significantly is just a good idea. It's purity of.
But I think it might bring just hammer greatsword more upfront in terms of like ahead of maybe axe maybe.
And damage isn't necessarily needed on a CC skill because the rest of your kit does that, or your teammates capitalize on your CC. But when we're looking at the kit holistically,
But I
looking
mean,
at
double
hammer,
axe is still
looking
going to
at
be
mace,
crazy cleave, right?
and
That's not really going to
kind of try to
change.
balance around Earthshake
I think it's still
dealing
good.
Skullcrack dealing no damage, and we push the
we'll
cooldowns
see.
lower and lower to the point that we don't really feel comfortable pushing those cooldowns any lower, because then you just have way too much CC on these weapons, and the weapon's still underperforming. So we need to give a little bit damage back, and the last kind of note on philosophy breaking, I guess, would be where to do it. And sometimes it's just necessary, which this is kind of one of those cases, but also it's more likely
It's
to
so
break
thematically on Warrior.
elite
Like,
skills, Prime Beam, for example,
when-
Grandmaster traits, kind of these more most potent.
like
options.
Warrior is really like philosophy. The philosophy of Warrior, how it was designed, it really was the master of CC
And when you think about Hammer
back
Warrior,
then. Now it does.
very
Other classes do more
Skullcrack
CC.
dealing
So
Prime Beam.
it just
Yeah,
Warrior lost a lot of class
These are good cases where we can kind of bend the philosophy.
uniqueness, like class.
And we're not adding a ton of damage
I'm not
back.
playing-
It's going to be around a 0.75 one-handed multiplier.
forgot to put a category in
Hammer
Guild
is
Wars.
I was going to look this up. Because I forgot the exact number.
Yeah,
It's
Warrior
like
lost a lot of its identity
But people who know weapon strength, hammer weapon
with
strength means that the coefficients are
a
lower
shit
than
ton of
the base,
nerfs
but the
and
numbers are
just,
the same. It's very exciting.
power creeping of other classes.
Anyway,
when Warrior just got
somewhere in the
nothing for
0.75
years.
range for all of these these three skills that we've put a little bit of damage back on. But it's not.
Well, it always was a
something
DPS
that's
strip up. What do you
too
mean?
widespread. This is very much the exception, not the rule.
And we'll see.
For
I
example,
mean,
never, ever, ever.
The thing is, Axe is still not
Unfortunate.
like
That skill
that good, right?
Yeah.
Like in 30 plus.
So yeah,
Like, you
notably,
probably just
Skullcrack
don't wanna run it
Slide
anyway.
Is included, getting a 0.75,
Like support is the best
damage multiplier.
play there.
Pyramid Beam, I think it's
So,
like 1.0, 'cause he's-
It's not going to change that much there. It's more you're more looking at it in
I
terms
think
of
that's all the Warrior.
For Warrior, yep. So next up we
more in GVG, I think.
So that was a long bit.
Yeah.
Just something to
Which the
remind-
proposition of
remind
Axe
everything.
Warrior is still extremely strong because of it still does insane cleave.
Drink some water,
Counties are some water,
You might have
I
some
believe
some new
Warrior
traits
has a
that
lot of
can
changes.
interact here.
Warrior has
Maybe
a lot of
maybe
quite
even
many.
Yeah, other classes
you
will
can
not
maybe
have
even
quite as
run
many.
a Berserker
Engineer has definitely got
because of some of the
good amount
traits.
changes. We've got some, good amount of changes for Rangers.
So that's nice.
Not as many for other classes, but we really were focusing on a couple for this.
But I mean, the proposition of Warrior
changes
in
for every single
of
class.
Spellbreaker in GVG is still extremely strong.
Yes,
Like
moving on,
you're
we're gonna look at
a
engineer now.
DPS with zero
some sort of
downtime.
high-level things to look at
That's
are
like
Scrapper,
it's you
Hollow
can't be
Smith,
targeted. Like
plus
it's
updates. So for
insane,
Scrapper,
right?
we are removing some of the
I mean, you can be
trade-offs. We're no
targeted,
longer
just
going to
don't
have,
suck. Like, don't be bad.
Stat reduction when you slot Scrapper. Hollow Smith, you will still have the function gyro on the F5.
Hollow
You're
Smith.
not going to
Oh, okay,
use the
Scrapper.
tool belt for the elite skill anymore.
And that is something that we're kind of
Dude,
looking
we're
into for potentially in the future.
30 minutes
Being able to put it
in,
back
and we
in
did
the
one class.
So it's still a question of can we
How long is this stream
find
gonna
a place
be?
to put function gyro such that we can give the elite tool belt back to Scrapper. Because
Ho Smith.
it's definitely a reasonable idea if we can find the right solution.
I like
So we
Holo
have some
Smith.
Hollow
That's
Smith
good.
changes, which are primarily going to be in PvP.
There might be some buffs to Grenade Kit.
Holo Smith
is watching.
fucking
I hope not.
sucks in PvP.
And then, of course, as I mentioned, we got some general updates.
It's insane how
So I
like
think we can
how
probably
much
go in game to look at the
on
trial.
paper the class looks insane. Like it has everything,
Talk about Scrapper changes. Fair
but
enough. All right, cool.
how much
So,
it just
uh,
cannot compete with anything else,
I'll
with
switch
anything in the
over
meta right now.
while you talk about stuff.
Yeah, so World versus World. It's a very strong spec right now, and it has been for a very long time.
Whoa!
More than just some number changes. So the obvious.
That's
very top
huge.
Probably.
And defense field, Gary.
But
And defense field.
Scrapper Wells are now going to function similar to. other
And,
wells.
oh my god, even the
So
10-second nerf.
Necromancer Wells. They're ground targeted.
Hey, why does
iron skills,
why would Scrapper have
stay in
an
close
amazing
up to
source
close
of stab
up,
on
that
top
is
of everything that,
Scrapper
like,
Wells.
no, you have the
functionality
Guardian.
of the gyros are not going to be changed.
You have the Guardian for
You have
stab.
the trait
In other classes, right, sure, but like you shouldn't be able to have that on.
Speed on the first pulse of the well.
Whoa, Fumigate increased.
Now that again they don't move with the Scrapper. But yeah, currently my the
No!
skill, and we felt that was just a little bit too powerful of an effect.
Cleansing field, medical dispersion field.
Fun little bit here is that the gyro is now going to be back in game.
Wait, throw mine. They just buffed
Yeah,
this
I mean,
thing.
gyro was above
They
the
buffed this thing
player
like
effect, but
3
much
weeks
smaller.
ago.
Now that it's a ground target effect, we made the gyro effect.
Mind
much
feeling
smaller.
like everyone's doing this.
So we can,
Yeah, this was kind of.
show that, I guess.
This was a little bit degenerate. Throw mine.
Or
This is
thinking about-
insane. Right? I'm not crazy? This is
I'm
actually
pulling up,
insane.
dev menus right now, so,
Okay, so yeah, Gary,
Mark doesn't want that to
I'm thinking we're gonna get to LA changes
See
pretty
how
soon.
large- this is actually how large the gyros were when they used to follow you.
And what's gonna happen is they're gonna be like, we gave AoE
Indeed.
stability.
Pretty simple stuff. It's now
So
To
the one
Tempest,
note is
and
that
then-
this is kind of it adds some flexibility. Obviously, there's a power
Rip.
loss in the gyro field not following you around.
Big rip.
But being able to cast this.
But I mean, you
from
still
90
need the.
away and
I mean, that changes War versus World so much.
Yeah, there'll
all the
be
things.
different usability with it.
Like, actually
Potentially
insane,
not as
right?
strong as what it was before, but definitely still usability, just in a different way. You have the ability now to cast it at range on your allies, potentially help people who are falling behind.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see other supports.
But either way, as I said, Scrapper just been.
It's hard to say right now because I mean, right now it's like you still need it.
And we do have some other changes.
But there's a lot of right now. There's a lot of resistance going around with the banners, right?
You know, just
So you might
appreciate
have
the support too.
more of a like support warrior kind of
Do we have anything else for Scrapper?
necessary.
Yeah, accelerators. That's great to change.
Because of that.
Accelerators, which is not
Whoa!
on the screen.
We can, I guess, show
Oh.
that in game.
Yeah.
Shit.
The note here is that
I saw
this
Grenade
gave a
Barrage.
quickness that was
Unblockable? If they make that unblockable,
We
it's
want
gonna
that,
break the
you
game.
know,
There's no way.
Quickness Scrapper to be a build that is accessible. That gives
Okay,
a lot of
gain
quickness.
concentration power.
But the kind of repeatable nature of this is commonly an issue in competitive modes. We'll see a similar thing with Draconic Echo. Was kind of a big deal with Herald. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But fundamentally, Scrapper does a bit too many things at once. Quickness being one of those, and we wanted
Okay.
to
Hey, no more
just
quickness.
rip that out in competitive. This is competitive only. This trait still gives quickness in PvE, but in competitive mode.
I don't like. I guess that's kind of necessary at this point because the game is gone so far at this point where
So
you
next up, we
can't
had some
just
policy
not
changes.
have
Again, these are primarily
you know so much separate balance. But I hate having
Yeah,
kind
so
of
some
different
grenade
functions
changes,
on skills
buffing up
depending on the.
damage on a handful of skills, bringing
Grease fire
the damage
commission.
down.
What
We're
the
kinda trying to
fuck?
find the space in
Why?
between
Grenade
the
Barrage is
last
like
of
one of your
Hollow
biggest.
Nerfs and where it is right now, because it's definitely fallen out of the meta.
What?
Definitely a bit weaker than where we want it to be, but we don't.
I don't know if this is the right play.
Meta force that it necessarily much once.
Whoa, grenade is
Grenade ability
insane.
is getting all its damage back, but we're not putting.
I don't know if this is the right thing to do.
And then Grenade Barrage, slight buff, Shrapnel Grenade cooldown coming down. We have a couple other nice changes for
Okay, enhance,
as well. Cauterize actually a nice
Photon wall. Whoa, the photon wall. I think you're just gonna
less
see.
punishing, less burning duration. So we actually reduced the
Okay, you might see like really
and we
tanky,
bumped up the heal on Cool and Blast a little bit too. So the Hollow Smith.
some like super
And
tanky
again, just a quick reminder,
like,
Prime Light Beam is going
Demolisher
up,
amulet.
damage.
Which is somewhere around
Side noter.
75 for
Right.
one-handed equivalents.
Yeah.
So we have a couple more general engineer changes to talk about as well, I believe.
Yeah, Tuscan. That's what I'm like.
So,
You still have a monopoly on some of these things, but then the stealth is going to be. It's. I mean, the gyro is a big deal. Stealth is a huge fucking deal, right? It's like in terms of like why you would run a scrapper. Like sneak gyro is a huge deal, right? The fact that it's stationary is actually pretty insane.
This is part of a kind of initiative to give a
Oh,
little
shield.
bit of autonomy with NG outside of algorithm
Okay.
conventions. And so
Yeah, I mean-
levels, as we were looking at reactive lenses, move this
Core
to
NG
shield
needs
trigger, now
needs a
also
lot of help.
one damaging condition in addition
So this
to
is
the
nice.
things, which we also bumped up the duration.
I'm not a core NG
More
expert.
Change mechanized deployment. That's the tools minor trait.
I was a holo guy. I
Every
played
single
like
skill cleanses the condition.
almost like 1,000 games of holo over the
more
course
so to
of
the point.
2 or 3 seasons. So
Note, it will
I'm
cleanse
very
it,
focused.
when using Hollow
I'm
Smith,
very
run Hollow Smith
I'm
and
very
not
narrow in my knowledge.
Right.
But
That's mostly a balanced decision just to make
outside
sure
of holo, I can't really say. But I know that
oh
man, core NG is just
tools hollow.
core NG and core LE is just
Kinetic
bad.
battery might slight bump there and takedown round. We removed the kind of the weird creating the
Tuba,
exploding
Increase quickness duration.
whatever it was on the ground.
I mean, I guess these are
Grenade,
buffs.
you
I don't know.
People have. It's just not a very.
Yeah, you just need more like
very healthy
just more
mechanic
skill,
for
like more interactive, right? It's not like just pop
It's now
gyro.
a
And,
damage bonus while endurance is not full.
Yeah.
It's just a slight little, slight improvement.
And I believe that is.
Is that
for
all of
engineer?
our NG changes? I believe so.
Indeed. All right. So
Yeah, I mean,
that
that's-
is Reddit.
there's big
We've got a
nerfs.
couple things to talk about here.
I mean, you probably still run one
Again, this is going to be mostly for PvP.
because of the super speed, but we'll see.
Herald
I
changes.
mean, it depends what they give to other classes. You never know. Maybe they'll give like super speed and
Finally,
like
Vindicated,
AoE super speed
which is
and
very
stab
exciting. We are, in fact,
to Tempest, and then there you go. You got
So Vindicator.
you
will
got
have-
you're cooking with gas.
And
And then maybe you can have like ones. I don't know. How do you get the smoke field? Maybe maybe a couple hollows. Maybe if hollow is good, I don't know. Maybe
with it internally, feel free.
maybe they make changes to Thief that makes
Well,
it
we can
good
start with
in War
Connie,
vs World.
yeah, because this is kind of in a similar.
Then
spot
you get a
to
bunch of
Hollow,
smoke field.
where A long time ago, this build was really good. Resistance, it was a different boon back then, so we nerfed all the resistance duration.
I think it's
And
bad,
then
Subas. I don't like it.
changed, and Condi
Pain absorption reduced.
and so we've
Okay.
brought down some energy costs a little bit, bumped up some resistance durations,
This is
gave
nice.
a little bit of oomph on Echo Eruption with that ammo change.
No
And
changes
also
to,
Torment is a notable
the strip, though.
update here that is not on the slide, but we'll talk about it.
I mean, Zubas, have you seen the Zerger
Last
fucking
update
traits,
to Torment,
man?
We changed the bonus
Pretty
damage
good.
from against moving targets to against
Pretty good.
targets. And
A 600
mechanically,
fucking
pretty good
radius
for competitive,
stun? I'm down.
because it's very unhealthy to punish someone for
No.
moving when you are basically always moving. Unfortunately,
I'm not playing this game anymore anyway.
The current version of Torment is just way too weak because you're always moving. You always get the weak side
Yeah.
of Torment.
I want to see everything though. I'm not
So
gonna.
we've kind of
I'm gonna try to
split the
not
range of Torment. So the base damage
let my mind go
10% under
too
bleeding.
crazy until I see all the
10% less
classes.
than bleeding. Then the bonus is about 10-15% higher than
Because you gotta, you know,
So
you,
it's
if you
much more
take
reliable
away from
moving
something,
targets. Torment will be a
you know, I'm assuming
while
they're
still
gonna give
maintaining that flavor
it
of
back to
combat
other
against
places.
non-
We'll see.
Yeah, and obviously this will impact any other class that applies Torment, Scourge, but of course it is still going to be really big.
I'm not. I think it.
Potentially getting Condi.
No, is it Tuesday? I thought it was the November patch.
That Torment changing. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe I'm crazy.
So we can move on to Herald.
Herald. So the one.
Is it that soon?
Yeah, the one change for Herald, pretty similar to the Scrapper change, which is that Draconic Echo, that Grandmaster and Herald. Now is just going to give might instead of.
Focus on, as mentioned last week, the October 4 balance update will primarily focus on.
Focus change to give AoE quickness to Herald.
Maybe
a bit.
Oh, you're right.
Herald
No, wait,
is
no.
Way over the top.
It's on the
Herald
4th.
is a good class.
Draconic
3
Echo
weeks?
already being taken before it gave quickness.
Yeah.
So you know.
October 4th, I think that's what it says.
Bring it down a little
And
bit.
who doesn't want more might?
Yeah, I mean it's like one.
Draconic Echo Dark Might is quickness.
Yeah.
But we wanted
Okay.
to keep the flavor of
That's
this grants you
weird.
Yeah.
It's might and it's not quickness.
What?
So that's good.
Absolutely. That is going to be it for Herald. So finally, yes. Now Vindicator, which we can swap
Yeah,
over
let me
to.
swap
Herald!
over to the Vindicator.
We'll
but
take
you
that.
can
One
talk
shitty
about
change?
for a second. You want to talk about Awakening?
Yeah. So
Just,
Awakening.
minor
People
change.
weren't even running
A little
that.
bit of a change here, and again, this is going to.
I think it was a PvP change though. The quickness is a little like pulsing quickness. Any kind of pulsing quickness in PvP is very, very unhealthy.
Energy cost. It's now going to be an instant cast ability as well.
Whoa!
Really
Vinegar and
important
longer
for
endurance on
and
top.
the radius, which is
This
really
is endurance cost.
going to increase from
Whole what? But you then you get 2 dodges.
really allow you to do, it'll be a lot easier to stun break allies, especially in world versus
Awakening,
world type situations where
reduce
you're probably
energy.
going to be a little bit more spread
Whoa!
out. Again, similar to other changes. We're
Okay.
making, similar to how sunbreaks work.
I wish I played more Vindicator, but I mean that's obviously like
Yeah,
insane,
So dodge. I mean, the information is up here on the screen.
right?
It costs less endurance to dodge. It gives you less evasion. So let's show it off.
Oh yeah, you get half the evasion frames, which is
So I have the damage dodge equipped right now, but I mean,
you just have to be better at dodging, right?
let's just see how fast. Let's see how fast this is, Roy.
I'll time it. Wow, that looked like 0.8 seconds to me.
Wow.
Whoa, that's
exactly
cool.
0.8 seconds.
That makes it so much better, so much more usable
So
too.
obviously, we've reduced
Which is
the
cool.
effectiveness of all of these dodge skills as well to compensate for.
I like that. Whenever you touch, like even like Daredevil, just Daredevil having 3 dodges is such a fucking pain to balance for them. They've never been able to balance it properly.
Sitting in the air, that also
Yeah.
that kind
Like
of
you
fell
have to
back
make
from
other
both
classes
sides as well, so
completely
it's
destroy
it up.
Daredevil for it to be usable,
really good.
to be or to for it to push it out. But you're still a
Slight save
thief.
to energy meld too, because
So you
since
can never be
it's
bad
adversity to hunt,
in
when you use
PvP,
a hunter,
but
now it'll give you 25.
Having 3 dodges or like 1 dodge, like
We'll be
Mirage,
keeping an
is
eye
just
on
like
how these skills are all
it's
balanced.
just it's a nightmare to
We
balance.
just kind of
That was
about halved most
those
of
were
them,
pretty much
since we
a
have
mistake.
half
If you
endurance
have to point out
confidence,
balance
but
mistakes,
yeah,
like those are in the top.
reading and seeing and watching
Like
videos.
touching the dodge mechanic at all, just don't touch it.
Indeed.
But very
Or at least the number of dodges is a big deal. This is cool
That
though.
is all the Revenant changes, so we can move on to what's the next?
Instead of having the Revenant like in the air for fucking 5 days,
I definitely didn't cheat below.
they're just kind of poop
Spectre.
and come back.
But yes, we were talking about how Bladesworn's running.
Holy shit, yes, we do. Yeah, Spectre needs some fucking mega nerfs.
It might be up there.
Oh yes, no, that's also probably a bit of a problem.
Okay.
So the Shadow Shroud health scaling is
Oh,
going
cool.
down. And
This
we
is
had
also
a little bit of
nice.
trade-off with this class. I don't know if you wanted to mention this, but we were, definitely. I think in the future we probably.
Ah,
would not
endurance
do
of
the
Shadow.
trade-off.
Yeah, the reduced initiative
Go back to
cost is
initiative.
definitely one of the.
Whoa!
Feel great. It really kind of it heavily impacts your
Spectre,
interaction
Spectre,
on-
stability, AoE stability,
We
Spectre.
did kind of compensate a little bit by giving access to the shroud skill.
AoE stability
It doesn't feel great with
in-
at some point, but
On
Spectre is kind of a big
20-second cooldown with a
so
lack.
we would like to make
Or that's
sure
without a lack, I should
we
say,
get
but
a
you
bit
get
more
you get a
balance
lack.
before we remove the trade-off there. This is the same.
Not bad.
Shroud scaling
Not bad.
Necromancers use.
Yeah, sure makes sense.
Currently, there's just so much. You see carrion ammo with. Spectre,
And you get smoke
quite a bit
fields.
of shroud health.
Yeah.
Especially
You have
on
where's
that
your
has
smoke fields that you can
ability.
blast?
Not the.
No, that sneak gyro is not
most
as
healthy, I would say.
not
bulky
as
ability. So this is
not as
bringing it
good,
down very
to say the
significantly,
least.
But similarly, this is kind of putting it into the spot where we want it to be, and then we can balance the.
Hey, Knight, it's time.
shroud
Just
gain
dust off
and
that
cost,
thief,
so we can
man.
balance the,
It's not. It's time that
any
you learn
any
Spectre.
number of things from here. Once we
I'm a
see
big
the
Spectre believer.
Absolutely.
slight
Oh my
nod
god,
to
there's no way.
PvP as well with the meld with shadows. Slight reduction.
There's no way.
This was, a pretty powerful trait that we added with the last Shadow Arts rework, and just bring it down a slight bit.
I don't know.
Slightly less super.
The problem is that, like,
4 seconds is a lot.
having threes,
And exit spell.
I mean, it's not gonna. You're not gonna replace Scrapper with
Yes. So
with
a
Spectre,
couple,
for
talk
example,
about the
right?
trait rework.
That's not.
Yeah,
The
so
closest
again,
is
obviously,
probably
a couple of
Tempest,
several,
right?
in fact,
The closest to Scrapper has always been
the
Tempest.
one that isn't up there, Shallow Grave.
So that would be the one.
Has also been reworked.
And I've having one, like a stack of stability, even one, like even if you had 10 stacks of stability
exactly, and it still
on
has
it,
a decent
it's mostly for your
More
party, right? So it's not
the
like
conversion of healing.
like
is
off meta supports, like just off supports in general.
It's pretty important. The interaction
Like
with Vapor
it's
Force
hard to
and
fit
Veil
because
is gone.
of the party
Shallow
system,
Grave will no
right?
longer revive.
Otherwise, like, if it's that good, you need one in every party, but you don't want one in every party because they don't give, they're not that compressed.
Same trigger that we used.
They're not that compressed in roles
Than a passive,
as Scrapper is. And Scrapper is still pretty compressed, right? Like you still have a shit ton of healing, you still have a ton of
endurance after shadow stepping. We wanted to put
of
in a small
everything,
number
you
to
know,
start,
like
obviously,
you're
because
just
you do have a lot of shadow
very
steps
good.
on Thief,
You're still
especially
like
if you're on Spectre,
master
or
of
Wells.
master of all.
Keeping an eye on it, making sure that it isn't blown out of
Yeah, I think you still
proportion.
learn, at least from this.
Then we can also just
It's gonna depend on what they change about Tempest. Tempest, once they get to LA, if they change Tempest
Kind of expanding stability access to other
in
professionals.
some significant
Spectre,
fashion, you
not
might see
really a
Tempest.
viable support pick for something like World v World, where we are trying to make a lot of these things work, but it's something that we're going
That's cool,
to be
though.
looking into for future update. And while we were looking at stability sources, Well of Bounty made a lot of sense. This no longer has the possibility of applying every boon in the game, but it will now always give you stability on pulse 1.
Yeah.
And then it will
That's
always
good.
give you might, and then fury, and then vigor, and then resistance.
Yeah. And something I
That's
actually
nice.
did forget to mention here with instant reflexes, which is probably kind of important. Dagger Storm, since this is one of your elite skills, does
Oh,
in
yeah.
fact already give you evasion while you're channeling the ability. And so we've made sure that the evasion from instant reflexes happens at the end of the skill cast instead of at the beginning, and doesn't.
Oh yeah, double evasion
Right.
and waste it.
one final note there is that this
Nice, they're
trait
thinking
actually
about
has a
these things.
30-second cooldown, just to make sure that Deadeye can't get evasion and then get evasion again from
Yeah.
its ammo elite.
Oh, that would be
But that doesn't really
pretty
impact any
insane.
of the elite skills on any of these specializations.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So that's Thief.
That is
Some,
Thief.
I mean, again, some smaller changes, but
Interesting.
some impactful changes,
Yeah.
or a fewer number of changes.
I don't think you play Spectre anyway,
Spectre change that will.
but it's nice to
We'll
have
see how it
smoke
plays out,
fields.
because Spectre is definitely a menace in competitive or in PvP.
It do be that way.
It do.
It do.
Yeah, I mean,
think
I
we have
guess.
A couple of Guardian changes next. Is
I don't
that-
think I don't know if you
Well,
run
first
that.
up, We'll have some
Scourge
Scourge changes, and so this is going to be it for Necromancer.
I don't. I
Obviously,
wouldn't say you
the
run
content
that.
change, which again, like I mentioned, will probably affect Necromancer a little bit. But it's gonna be Scourge. But there's two big changes here with Scourge that really mostly are aimed for World versus World. The first being
Like that means you have to run
Scourge,
acro,
used to when you
right?
would corrupt
Instant
it,
reflexes and acrobatics, and acrobatics
now
has been
going
nerfed
to
to shit
Dust
because of
and
sword,
Torment.
dagger, thief. So
And yes, we can all appreciate Cal's drinking. But because of this, obviously, and the reason for this is just because that. The
Like, who
cover-
cares?
It just provided too many cover.
like the
conditions. It was
you don't need the
a little bit
evasion.
Too strong to get two conditions on one player for corrupting one boon, and so in return, you're now going to increase the amount of torment stacks. From
I don't think it does.
Yeah,
I don't
just
think it
wanted
does
to try to
anything.
keep some of the unique
with the,
flavor to the Scourge punishment skills.
The down,
There is some
the
consideration
insta down
changing them into
skill.
using the standard.
I don't see why you'd run acro just for
But
that.
for the first pass, I guess we wanted to try to keep that flavor.
Scourge, automatically cripple when removing a boon.
Ability to
Increase the
always
number of
torment
torment
targets
stacks
opponent
when
plus.
removing a boon from 1 to 3.
It's definitely something we're trying, but if it ends up
Yeah,
being
Scourge needs help in
weak, we'll
PvP.
probably
I can see
lose
that.
them into traditional
I had a target cap.
my
Oh,
World of World friends will be
yeah,
very happy.
Roy's
World
like-
will now have a target cap.
Roy smiling
for
inside.
affecting enemies and allies. And I believe that target count
Okay.
is 10.
It is currently 10, kind of in line with a lot of the other line CC skills.
Yeah.
Or line skills that affect a large number of targets. This obviously
Okay.
is CC, but
I mean, it wasn't
similar
necessary. Even at
concept.
10,
And,
like,
you know, for now, it's
even
only
at 10,
We
it's still
can
good,
evaluate
right?
and bring those down to 5 in the future
it'll just
updates.
prevent these like fringe cases where you
But that I believe is
get like 30 people
Necro's already pretty good.
that just run into you, like,
Pretty competitive.
which is a little
Fewer
crazy.
updates. That's kind of what we were saying at the start of this.
yeah.
Commensurate with gain
thank you.
distortion.
Oh,
What?
what's that?
What is that?
First
What?
Line is pretty
Virtuoso.
exciting. So yes, a couple trade-off removals here for.
Wait, you get
Chronos.
distortion on
Both
F4 now?
getting their distortion back on their F4s.
Ooh, Gary is just like so rock hard right now after reading this line.
Their distortion on their 4s, and Chrono will still have continuous split on F5 like it used to.
That's
And,
pretty good.
So of course, muscle memory, you know, will take a little bit of time to retrain, but it is still definitely a much better change, I think, giving the distortion.
Why? Phantasmal Disenchanter. What? Nobody was using it, huh?
Virtuoso in competitive modes, probably.
People using that in-
We'll see
in
if this
GVG?
pushes over the top of PvP. I'm not.
I feel like it wasn't that used.
It's something that we're looking
Because it's
into
competing with
future
so many
updates.
good
It's
choices,
definitely
like Mimic
struggled to find its
and Null
footing.
Field
Yeah.
and
Probably
IOL.
one of the End of Dragon's special editions that has kind of struggled the most.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we want to make sure that Virtuoso can see.
Ooh,
the
Null
PvP
Field.
modes, but
Wow,
it's
they really.
time to do for this update.
That's weird.
The next
Did this
one
really
is
need a nerf?
actually, Boon Rip, specifically for Chronomancer.
Oh, I wasn't reading this.
Phantasmal Disenchanter is going to be losing some Boon Rip, and No Field, while not losing anything, is going.
Man, that's
to
a little
have to cool
strange.
down.
Right, and we definitely are planning a larger investigation into kind of the boon rip versus boon applications for World v World in kind of the next major balance update. But since we were doing a pretty relevant buff to Mesmers here
Yeah.
with Mantra of Concentration.
Yeah, obviously
we
Chrono's
also
really good,
had
but you
to
don't
bring
run.
down
You run
a
like
bit
one or
of
two.
their other potencies.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that
3
change-
stack for
Just,
3
you know,
seconds to 5
a
seconds for 5
pretty-
seconds.
Pretty big update. Increasing the radius, similar to Awakening.
I mean, that's really
Get
good.
more competitive with like shouts.
That's quite good.
specifically, you know,
And then you don't run that many because it
now
doesn't
it's a
do
lot
anything
easier
else.
to- well, you probably
You're a
see,
strip butt, right?
players taking Mantra Concentration now to apply stability allies, and so it'll obviously have a little bit.
But I mean, I guess you could run it because, well, the cooldown recharge
but yeah, it'll be a lot easier to
key
play
on Null
with
Field
that
makes it so like
skill,
you
should
really
be
want
very
Mimic
effective,
more
stability
than
access skill, and putting
more
it
than
together.
even more than
But
before.
like Cal said, we wanted to just make sure that we
And
you
I mean, you want
know,
IOL
more
because
Boon
it's
Rip
so strong.
application before taking a deeper look at it
So
later.
IOL and Null Field are like
The other two changes up there.
pretty
So I
much
think we're finally
necessary,
over
right?
Guardian.
Finally. it could
And
be.
then
Unless
with
there's another class, who knows?
Whoa, there it
5.
is.
Oh, wait a
Oh,
minute.
well, there you go.
Elementalist.
Elementalist?
The
Well,
class that
Game Barry, when it's
everyone
in
knows about.
triggers after
He forgot that existed.
I'm not sure what this one is.
Again,
Gale Song
nothing
rework.
Too major with Elementalist here. Obviously, we had a couple of
Oh.
second traits that we had to rework.
AoE protection is
for this
good.
class, and we are getting, you know, a little bit of a buff there for the
No AoE stab.
stun break on Elementalist. I have the Storm. But if you want to talk about the...
Yeah, I mean, some minor trait reworks, final shielding on elite skill, and then, you know, just reworking Earth Embrace is a minor trait, or an adept trait, rather. So
I'm thinking this
definitely isn't as
gives.
exciting.
Does this
Gale
give
Song
Arcane Shield?
Same slot, so we're
Is it the one that gives
pretty,
Arcane Shield when you're below a
you know,
certain
pretty standard
HP?
stuff there. Barrier on Earth Attunement, AoE prod after healing skill. Nothing too crazy, but again, adept slot, getting those three.
AoE prod is quite good.
Very important.
And I will save Cal from saying...
I had a
Guardians up
Storm.
Next because we do have some catalysts.
There are
Nice
some
little,
catalyst nerfs. Yep.
nice little.
There was a lot of speculation that Ellie would just always.
It's
be
an
one
AoE
but
stun.
really-
That's AoE stun breaks, right?
Crazy. I actually made an Elementalist for the first time when I heard you were streamer.
Yeah, that's actually why Grouch has been streaming.
Yes, he's been
Staff
getting ready for
Weaver.
He had
for a
the insider
while.
info, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a 30-second AoE
Catalyst
stun
is
break. That's not
something
bad.
that- It's right up there. It's
Yeah.
not at the same level as Spectre, Bladesworn, Herald,
Right.
but with all three of those getting pretty.
That's pretty
significant
good.
Reductions. We wanted to make it.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Catalyst just to bring it down, make sure it doesn't just dominate the meta. So if we can move to the next.
It's
slide,
nothing competitive,
defensive
or
shield,
much more competitive with
bringing down some of these changes that were kind of undoing some of the buffs from March when we did that big passive
Scrapper.
catalyst and made it a lot more powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know much about Catalyst, but I know it's actually insane. And they're like 1v3s.
We have Guardian
So
finally.
maybe
Is it
nerf
finally
that.
Guardian?
Cool.
I actually forgot the order.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This is the first time we've ever even seen these notes, actually. But yes, so Guardian going to be getting some
Whoa,
changes here.
testify.
These are pretty much primarily nerfs for Guardian since it is performing
Trap?
very
Trap
strongly
nerfs?
against the world on multiple classes.
Metro Liberation,
In fact,
reduce ammo count from
nothing really
3 to
relevant
2.
PvP other than we are
Okay,
again,
fair enough.
reworking the
That's
Christian
fair.
second trait that is in Dragon Hunter.
But that's good because you get stun
Yeah,
breaks,
this isn't
AoE
like
stun
a-
breaks on other classes now. Like Warrior just
rework
gets it
because
too.
is kind of the still
Word
the
as
same
well.
RE
Oh,
trigger,
okay. We
but
can.
we've refocused the trigger into kind of the more defensive aspect of this, because we're considering that this is going to be triggering off Dragon's Maw.
That's pretty good.
So if we drop Fragments of Faith after Dragon's Maw, that's potentially a lot of damage happening.
Yeah.
So this actually no longer deals damage at all. It just drops essentially as if you had already triggered Fragments of Faith. It will give you Aegis, it'll give you Stab.
That's pretty good.
And it will drop some Aegis fragments around you.
That's quite good. That's like a
30
30-second cooldown.
There's some Aegis fragments. Again, on elite trigger.
It's
more
you.
defensive
It's
focus.
so hard to compete with RF though.
Yeah.
Good trait.
Pretty solid.
It's RF is so good.
Has cooldown less than 300 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. That's a pretty good argument for taking it now.
So probably
All
not.
right, that is, I believe it for
You
Guardian.
probably still run RF.
And I think that's all the classes, right? There's no more?
Liberators, Alchemist, Sorcerer.
Oh,
We
Yeah.
talked a little bit
That's
about
cool.
Ranger at the start.
Now, there's nothing
Well,
too major
Warrior has
that is
quickness.
happening, I'd say. Nothing too crazy going on there.
Oh,
There's some crazy changes, actually.
Oh, are they? Okay.
let's see.
few.
Let's see it.
Maybe just one that I would call is actually crazy.
Okay.
That's
Stance
the
share.
Beast stuff.
Stance share, Sylbees.
So, sorry,
Let's
saving
talk
the best
about
for
let's
last,
talk
yeah.
about Druid.
Let's
Stance
talk about
share,
Druid
Sylbees
indeed. So obviously, as we mentioned
are
earlier,
really
we
good.
have that teaser image.
I wanna see
and
that.
So that was going to be the Druid
Glyph
going to have
tuning,
pet
traits.
stat reductions. So that trade-off is just going to be gone. But we've also got just some general trait updates and some other skill updates as well for Druid.
Right. So tuning up a bit of the glyphs. That's notable because of, yes, always. You know, I keep bringing up this dev menu that I forget to close out, so we can never come back to the game.
Okay, let's see.
But we're fine. We're fine now. So notably, we changed verdant etching. This is the trait.
Oh,
that
I like
lets
this.
you Drop a seed of life on the ground when you use the glyph skill. Now gives protection.
Yeah, that's
One of
annoying.
the goals here was that making support druid viable in competitive modes is something that historically never really has been.
Yeah.
And
You would run
we've
this
seen the side
one,
node
this
druid in
trait,
PvP, and we've seen
pretty much
some sort
every
of
single time.
druid abomination in World v World every once in a while. Immobilize.
It does
focus,
immobilize, yeah.
but it has not been, you know, a true support class. And so
Right.
one of the things we were trying to do for this update is make it more of that true support class, which involves giving it a few more tools that it didn't previously have access to. And why is my Astral Force increasing?
That's a great
Whoa,
question.
oh yeah, out of
I
combat.
do not have Lingering Light equipped.
We don't have any traits
Ooh.
equipped right now, actually.
Well, we have the minor trait. We
Let's
have
just-
Natural Mender.
Oh, look at that.
We've moved the
Oh,
passive
nice.
from Lingering
It
Light
needed
to
it so
minor trait
bad.
that all druid builds have access to this. If you're going more aggressive with Grace of the Land, or you're going for the immobilized
I hope
build,
that's in PvE too.
just have
That'll
one.
make it really fun.
because that's kind of definitely a problem in competitive modes. This also no longer has that kind of weird stacking component. It's just going to give you a flat healing bonus, like pretty
Okay.
much every other outgoing healing bonus.
Man, that's not bad, but
Professions. So the prot on
I don't see why you would run Druid.
as well. So if we hop back to the slides, I think we have a couple notes on what
this is
those
definitely not a
things
War
are.
vs. World thing. Increased
Just some
mobilization.
minor number tuning on stuff like alignment, equality,
Glyph alignment.
that could see play.
Yeah.
And tides, maybe not so much, but I could see the heal glyph and then maybe
Ooh,
alignment now.
Glyph of
equality,
the
and
stars,
the
no
stars.
longer channeled. That's
Yeah,
a big
both the
deal.
No
Stars,
longer channeled.
which
It's actually a big
probably
deal.
A little bit more of what I would say is the significant part of a lot of the glyph rewards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So previously, or again, currently in live, it is a 7-second channel. Which,
Yeah, it's
that's a
insane.
long time.
It's a little hard
Not
to use.
quite as long as 300 seconds, but it is still pretty long. And so we have, it's no longer a channeled skill, and now it is going to give stability, which again is, we're getting stability on some other classes.
It's not bad.
This is going to be a little bit different than the stability we put on, or well, obviously the stability already existed on mentor concentration, but a little bit of less.
This is definitely a PvP thing.
And it's now going
I can
to
see it
be
being
pulsing
good in
stability,
PvP.
pretty similar to kind of hollowed ground on Guardian.
Um,
So again, just trying
I
to
just-
get some more competition in.
I don't
with
see how
stability skills,
you
but
run it in
if
War
you
vs.
play the
World.
Put it on elite skill.
Unless I'm missing
It
something.
makes a lot of sense to put it
Your
on
pet
druid
just being
instead,
insta-dead
We're trying to kind of push that support druid in.
Every
especially
fight
with
is a
World.
pretty bad
So notably, this gives
proposition.
stability on both halves. Both the
It
base and
is.
celestial
It
version.
is.
To make space
in
for, we removed
competitive-
those things that were previously
Well, it was. I don't think it is right now because you can stack. You can stack things like specters and
mechanic that's a little
Bladethorn.
Yeah.
So while we were adding stability, we figured
But it used to be like
we've
maybe
seen the
2
dual
metas ago.
versions of Disenchantment back when it was a full.
There was a team that ran a bunker druid
boon prevention.
because they had like 2 side noders. They had like a warrior
But then on the back half,
that had a lot of mobility and was pretty tanky, and then they had the druid. And so they would like
And
they
we
would
also
really
reduced-
split
it's now
and
ground
waste a
level
lot of
skill,
time.
you know, it's only 6 pulses.
And the guy running the
Revive
bunker druid
happens.
build was a very strong
Numbers
druid
per
player,
pulse are
like a
higher
very
than
like a
the
specialist druid
revive
player.
pulses, now it does 6.
So that's why it worked pretty well because he was really good. He was a good player and a good druid player,
Just no more
and the
progress.
comp just kind of worked. But
pretty good skill. Pretty excited about this. Again, trying to.
if
hopefully
they
get some
when they ran into
competition
into
And again, just make Druid
like maps that were bad for roaming,
couple more
like more
trade
teamfight heavy maps, they couldn't do
well.
anything. So it wasn't that good. It was more like let's say you have
We can show them in game. I don't remember all of them.
let's say on Capricorn, it was good, right? It would waste a lot of time. You just had the Druid just instant like push fire all game,
But
right?
the big one here that we haven't talked about already, Druidic Clarity.
But on Kylo, for
This is to
example, it does
cleanse
nothing
all conditions from yourself when you
because
Avatar.
you
Very
can be
powerful.
on all the points really
Historically
fast. So.
problematic even in competitive modes in certain metas.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to bring that down to a more reasonable number.
Okay, what is this?
But it
Thread?
now cleanses
Oh,
allies.
clarity
Yeah,
reduce
nice
cleanse.
little nod to potentially
All right.
Again, should feel a lot better for Druids that want to try to support their allies. And again, even though 13 conditions cleansing at once is potentially problematic, it probably wasn't happening that often. So it definitely seems like
Yeah, the three.
better
It's
trade in
good.
general.
It's already good.
Again, just
It's still
getting
good.
That synergy with getting support Druid again into the meta and really making it feel better to help your allies.
Yeah. And so we have a couple more kind of QoL adjustments to talk about.
Yep.
That we can show off in game. So the first one is staff 2 ally targeted, which we did
Ooh.
talk about. Let's see
I like
that.
allied targeted things. It
We
really
changed the
it
effect a
really
little bit.
brings up the
This
skill
used to be
ceiling.
like the thing where the projectile would
Like,
attack.
really, really
And
high.
the projectile
That's why
thing is just
Spectre
strike
on
your
paper
ally.
is the hardest class to play in the
A little
game,
bit, a
in
little bit
any game
clunky.
mode, by
So now
far.
it's just going to do kind
Like,
of
not
a
even
healing
close.
area. You can see
Just
the
because of
blue
that.
outline here is the healing pulse radius
Yeah.
of this.
So again, this will obviously feel better to use.
Oh, that's cool.
Be better to use because it's ally targeted.
Oh, pet swap in
but
combat.
Also definitely
I saw that.
does
Oh, Soul Beast, pet swap in combat.
heal in
Yeah.
general.
And you can
Nice.
throw it on
Well,
your
that's
sword,
back.
So much more reliable.
Well, I'm
And
gonna play
last
some
update
Soul
of
Beast, I
change,
guess.
Seed of Life. Some people may remember, or
Never hitting anyone with the skill.
no one has ever
Yeah,
learned
the
the Seed of
skill's
Life
so
because
bad.
There's the long cast time followed by the.
It's
very
so
long
bad.
animation
It just
time.
stays there.
So we've cleaned this up quite a bit.
Oh, what's
here.
up, Jeff?
Now
Thanks for
activates
the sub.
instantly If I don't
Appreciate it,
remember
man.
Avatar, because we
Appreciate your Prime
Now
Jeff.
activates instantly.
I like your
and it
name.
explodes much faster.
XXX Jeff.
That
X.
is-
Why is
I
it?
blinked and it was gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did it
Something
again.
that really
So
bothers me, Jeff,
this
here
should
is
hopefully
that
be a lot more usable.
there's
Biggest little
only
difference
4 X's on the left,
from 180.
and there's
And it's instant, so you can do cool stuff like
6
combos if you
X's on the right.
Avatar, you can
What is that about?
finish or more AoE cleanse.
More
And we-
advanced Druids.
We
experience
actually
it.
How is
reduced
there
the
not
party
the
punch
same
during
amount of
combo
X's on
because
each
you
side?
can actually hit someone with the skill 3
Like,
combos is
what?
damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is on a very short cooldown as well.
Yes.
Right.
But some nice usability.
All the
Efficiency
X's?
for the stars.
You'll
You
actually
This was
be
the
able
You can
only
actually show this off. You just cast this.
the only combination of X's and Jeff
It gets stability.
that was not taken.
Indeed.
That's crazy.
I believe
That's
that
cool.
is-
I like Druid is a very, very cool class to play.
Yes.
People sleep on it. It's very fun to
All
play.
right, Soul Beast. That's a
Soul
But
Beast is a pretty
okay,
fun-
Soul
pretty fun
Beast,
stuff. I'll let Cal talk about this one.
All right.
leader of the pack.
Pet swap in
Okay,
combat.
Yeah.
Done. The trade-off is gone. Notably, all the
they turn a bond.
traits that give you something
wanna
on
see
pet
that.
swap no longer trigger on
Leader of the
in advanced
pack,
mode because
by the
advanced
way.
mode is kind of the
That's not
compensation
bad.
For losing pet swap and is no
Oh, thanks, Ebus.
Leader of the pack. This is another nod to increasing stability
Okay.
access in World versus World because
That's really good.
Dolyak stance much more reliable, much more easy to share.
Okay,
And last
That's
up,
really
we have
strong.
A rework to Eternal Bond. This is obviously the 3.
I don't know. You might see it. The Soul Beast is still probably better because you do damage.
Soul Beast.
But
Soul Beast.
I don't know. Maybe
No. Ooh.
Maybe.
Setting up the demo real quick.
It's definitely shaking up like the
And
whole
this is
meta
pretty
right now. I
clean
think.
Rework, I would say.
This is
This is
probably the
really
craziest
strong.
change in the whole patch.
Yeah.
We'll
Gonna be a
just-
good one.
Let's just preface it with
Leader
that.
of the pack.
So notably, this was kind of a defensive.
Okay, I want to see
It had the
Eternal
same life-saving
Bond.
mechanics as Dead or Alive, not super healthy, but we wanted to keep the
Let's see.
idea of this is a more sustaining trait because we have the damage trait here and we have
Ooh,
the stand
wait.
trait.
Where's
So that same defensive sustaining
Where are they
trait
where are they taking
slot.
this?
So let's
This
just
was one of the
let's just cover
300
tooltip
second
and let's
skill,
go read
traits.
this real quick. What does it say?
Heal when you use merge skills.
I'll read it
A
too.
merge skill. You can
Heals
swap.
when using
pet
a
swap.
merged skill. So again, keeping that sustained there. But what's also kind of interesting about it is
Whoa.
now you can swap pets while you're merged.
Holy shit.
That's pretty exciting. So again,
Some
you can
exciting
swap
stuff.
pets while you are merged in beast
So
mode.
let's show it off.
Yeah.
We'll go into
Okay,
beast mode.
dude,
Currently, I do not have the trait equipped.
Sobies
But
has a
also shout
lot.
out to the programmer who built
right
the
now.
Beast UI however many years ago, because it does actually support 4 skills very cleanly.
Yep.
So I have now,
Ooh, look at that.
what is Eternal Bond is
Ooh.
now a skill on your skill bar, and all it says is meld with the other pet. And
Absolutely.
also this does count as swapping pets, which is also exciting.
Yeah.
Because it'll trigger all your pet swap traits. But you see I am merged with my River Drake.
Wait, this is insane.
Good time.
Maybe I take off no recharge so we can actually use some cooldowns. Maybe I could, not important. We'll just use some cooldowns here, and then we will swap to the brown bear.
Oh my goodness,
Okay.
and he didn't even
And we
leave
have
beast
now-
mode.
A bear. Bear bow.
That's
Well,
incredible.
Bear bow.
Look at that.
Okay.
So, it's
There might
pretty
be some
exciting. Like,
things
this
here.
mechanic is just kind of crazy. The goal here obviously was to make the synergy with using merge skills much cleaner, in that you can use the 3 skills.
One
on
of the
one
issues
bar,
is that
swap to your other pet, and
it's
use the other
always-
skills and get the
You
maximum
just lack
sustain
damage
without having to
abilities
exit and then
on
remerge,
Sulbies,
But it's also just a cool mechanic,
Yeah.
and it might be broken.
but
We will
could
definitely
be,
be
yeah.
I don't
balancing
know. We'll
this trait,
see.
going forward. But
There might be some pet skills
idea
that
is really
because you
exciting.
could
It's something we want to do,
if you can swap pets
and
now,
it is now here for
there might be a way to like.
Yeah.
There might be some pet skills that
Yeah,
do
very-
like a
very
lot
good
of
stuff, very
damage
cool
that
stuff.
you can
And I believe we got a couple. Is that it?
that you can kind
There's a
of
couple of general ranger updates.
weave in a little bit better.
These
We
are
do
just
have some
the
other
300-second cooldown trait reworks. So Stoneform got the elite trigger.
It
and
does,
Spirit
but,
Anguish
like,
to give you and your pet
It's
stability
hard. It's a little bit hard to connect,
instead of absorbing incoming.
and it's a one hit, right? So it's not like a Greatsword 2 Guardian
Yeah,
where
all of
it's like a
the-
multiple hit.
I think we're forgetting something, though. That is all the professions.
It just one
That is every
big hit,
class.
which
We
makes it
thought
so
that
if you get
we
blinded
World versus
or
World.
if you get blinded or
You know,
or it's
why there's
blocked or if
still
there's
opportunity to get
weakness,
balance changes in, and so
it kind of
for
nullifies
What else
like
could there
basically
be?
your only
you
skill that does
right
damage.
now,
Oh.
we do
You can do
have
axes. I like
two
axe.
updates to the Mechanist.
All right,
um,
Mechanist, yes, which
Often hacks
obviously has been a little
does a
bit
lot
of
of
a
damage,
problem,
but it's pretty small radius and you're
and
stationary
so
for a long
while we're
time.
not
So
taking
it's
a
I don't
huge
think
hard
it's
look
as
at
good
it
as
in this patch,
Warrior
we're
Axes.
definitely thinking about planning on looking at it a little bit more in depth. So,
every time he
November,
fucking drinks water,
we
they
are
cut
trying
to
to
him.
get at least a couple of changes in
That's
just for this
amazing.
patch. We didn't want to leave it completely untouched, even though again this is going to be a very competitive focused patch. We felt it was important to just at least get a couple things in there for Mechanist.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
as Roy mentioned, we are looking into more changes for Mechanist in the next balance update. But for now,
Okay.
we kind of
Yeah, Mechanist is a problem because it's not that good in PvP.
I don't
But
wanna say
then
problematic, but some of the more impactful.
if you
passive damage
if you just
that
like
happens that
buff it
happens
like
to-
a little too
So,
much, then
aim-assisted
it
rocket
it
notification
goes
is no longer going to trigger for the mech at all.
it goes into the
Yeah.
the
That's
really
definitely,
toxic
increased quite a bit of the damage coming out of
land
Mechanist,
pretty quick.
there.
They zoomed out
And
of
then
show
second
right.
up,
Yeah,
we've got
really, I didn't see.
Ferocity, from Mech Frame.
So
no
is this
longer
only
inherited. It's
War
just
versus War
going to
PvP?
increase your precision there on that trait.
Right. So again, just a touch to the mech's damage output itself to kind of remove some of that passive damage output while we look ahead to a future update.
Yeah, and again, like I said, we're not expecting this to just completely do the class. Not that we want to do that anyways. But
It's just a little
couple
strange that
touches,
Mechanist
we'll have to see
is
how it
more
shakes out, and
bursty
again, we're
than
gonna continue
Hollow,
looking, at it a little bit
in
more
terms of
deeply
like
for November
like
when
a
we're planning
super
on
small
getting
scale
some
like
changes
skirmish,
But since it was
like
obviously
a
competitive-focused
like small
patch,
numbers, like
we
one
didn't
digit
take too many
numbers.
looks at it, but again, just wanted to get something in, make it hopefully feel a little bit better for the meta there in PvE.
All right. And we have one final
final
change
thing, yeah.
that we'll talk about, and then we'll wrap up.
One
Revenant.
final change.
That's class.
Once I forget which update it actually happened in, but recently the interaction between weapon swap sigils and legend swapping was removed.
Ooh,
But it's
is it
not,
back?
because at the end of the day, that was always an intended functionality,
Yeah.
and it was
Dude, they
kind of
slipped that by
that
us.
got removed. So we-
Oh, it was a bug.
Yeah.
It's just been in the
Great,
game for
feels
6
good to be able to
years.
swap
It was just a
weapons,
bug.
weapons.
Like, what the fuck, man?
As a Revenant enjoyer,
That was so
myself, yeah.
stupid.
I mean, when it got removed initially, a lot of people pointed out,
And then there you
there's a
go.
bunch of ANET devs talking about this in the past where this is intended to be
Yeah.
and yes, it is behavior.
Yeah.
I love CMC.
So I guess we'll
He's
try to
calling
wrap
out his
things up
the whole.
here.
He's calling out the whole
All the
company.
changes for the update. We'll be posting the
Damn,
update notes
what a
shortly after the
fucking
stream.
Chad.
Some of the stuff that we talked about in this stream will not be in those notes because we are still kind of in the iteration
Okay,
phase. for
so
the
there's some
update,
stuff that they haven't talked
and
about.
Some of these things came in after the post was ready and localized and all that stuff. And obviously, we're still going to have some time to make some changes based on feedback, and that's really the goal we have with doing these preview posts, whether it's through the live
Yeah,
stream
this is
or
very
through
interesting.
The text posts. We want players to give us feedback about these changes and
Yeah.
give us time to fix any mistakes that may have been made, if there are any. There's some
Mistakes?
changes in this patch, but
CMC
there's a
doesn't
lot of
make
good changes in this
mistakes.
Absolutely. But yeah,
But-
make sure to check out the post in the forums in case you missed any of the notes. You'll be able to read through most, if not every single one of them, as Cal said. And give
Cool.
us your feedback. We'll be looking for it. And yeah.
I I think that's. I feel like I'm
See you,
forgetting
Gary.
something.
I do
but
feel, yeah, because when we initially ran through this, it took a lot
Make
longer.
sure you
Well, the first time
make
we
sure
ran through this, it
you
took
call
forever
that
because we were just kind of stumbling
erection of
over
yours
I
before
did
you
a
go to
fair amount
work.
of stumbling just now too, but yeah, sure.
words and whatnot, and we don't have room.
Otherwise,
here
it
to
might be
have, like,
awkward.
cleanly. It's
Yeah.
just
Like point out that they
I'd
removed,
be
changed
happy
all
to
the
do it,
camera trims
but you
except for the
wouldn't
early
let me, so.
ones.
Yeah. So again, thanks
no,
everyone
they
for
did
watching. This is.
the shield.
I love those streams. Like, I hope and know we continue to do live streams for balance
Yeah,
previews, but
absolutely.
What's the
we're
one?
definitely figuring out all the logistics around that and
The
when
shield
things
one.
need to be ready
What is it?
and what things aren't going to be ready, but we're still going to be getting in for the update. You know, all these
Shield,
details.
shield.
But live streams are fun. I
Is
love
it
being on
elemental
camera. Roy,
shielding?
I guess
I've been on camera once or
he's
twice.
streamed before, I guess.
Which one is it? Shield. I think it's the one that gives you arcane shielding, final shielding.
See, that's nice. We're actually live right now, and that
Is that what
happens.
it is?
Yeah.
That's good. Anyway, yes, we'll be posting the update notes pretty
Yeah,
shortly
final
after. Some of
shielding.
the stuff we talked
They
about
changed that.
here will not be in
Is
the
there
videos
another
that we
one?
mentioned,
That's 300
and
seconds.
just keep that in mind when you're giving feedback, and we'll be reading all following all the channels, and probably making some follow-up
there?
adjustments between now
I don't know.
and the October 4th patch itself, based off that feedback.
Absolutely. But I guess that's it for now. Thank you very much for tuning
See,
in.
300.
I've been Roy Marks.
Ah, yes, Roy Marks, and Cal CMC Cohen. But you
Absolutely.
can just call me CMC.
Thanks, Roy.
Cal, I guess I don't.
Love you,
It almost
Roy.
feels ridiculous to me when people say like first name, nickname, last name in one sentence.
See, I just tried to wrap it up, and he kept talking. So
There you go. But yeah, we're gonna.
We love Roy. We
sign
love
off.
CMC.
Obviously, we'll be reading some feedback and.
No, oh, Dano,
Be back
your
for
poor,
challenge
your poor guy.
and then who
No, Staff Alley got
absolutely. Until
destroyed
then, we'll see you in the mist.
knows?
because of Tempest. Now Tempest is the thing with dagger focus. You can still run it. You can still run Staff Alley, but it's more of like a damage thing, and then it's not that good right now. But yeah, water. The thing is, now water fields aren't that good anymore. I mean, they're nice, but you don't call for them like you used to be because of power creep. Like the power creep now is so much that you have things like Scrapper that heal so much that you don't like blasting a water field is just a pure loss in like healing potential, right? Like you just keep healing. You know, why drop a like you can drop a water field and blast it yourself or blast them by accident, but like as a scrapper it's better to just go into medkit and just press 1 and 4 once in a while, and just cleanse your allies and press F1 rather than actually drop water field and blasting them. It's pointless. Let's see, 300. I'm looking at 300 traits. 300 seconds. Final shielding. Okay, so there's one in Earth. There's one more in Earth. Earth's Embrace. Gale Song. Wasn't that changed? Not sure. I'm pretty sure. So when they said they were reworking all of them, so I think they just didn't talk about all of them. You might see them in the patch notes, or they said they said that there were some few things that they didn't talk about. So, I mean, I can see that. I can see that they just didn't talk about them, but they said that they were reworking them, and like 99% of them are reworked. So, not bad, not too bad, man. Let's not doom too much. No need to be doomy here. Lots of warrior buffs. Berserkers back in business. I think you're gonna see Berserker in PvP. I think it has so much more usability now. Less clunky. You don't get 300 less toughness for no reason. I mean, I like that. I like that. I don't like that. I think the main thing for War vs. World is, yes, maybe you still run Scrapper because of the sheer, because of role compression. You get all the support, you get all the healing, you get all the cleanses, and you get that smoke field with it, and that's really good. So I think you still run it, but the playstyle is going to be so much more different. You know, like you can't run in stealth anymore. That's a big deal. And even GVG, like in GVG, the fact that you can aim the actually in GVG, it's good. It's kind of a buff. And maybe in open field, all the scrappers are going to have to learn how to bomb kit stealth because it's going to be better to just aim your gyro for downs as if you are in GVG. But in GVG, you have to like run up to the person and then gyro. Now you're not going to have to do that. You can just aim the well, which is nice. But then I feel like you're going to do that in open field as well. And just save your gyro for that because, you know, it's not as insane because it doesn't follow you around. So I can see that. That's probably going to be the best way to use it. I don't know if you really run Tempest over it, though. It's going to be interesting. Warrior got mega buff, though. That's pretty nice. But I don't know. This is the problem with Warrior, is that now you have so many competing skills. I don't know. Are you here, Zubas? Maybe, but the thing is, like, think about how hard Tempest is to play compared to a Scrapper, right? Just think about that. And if in your squad, if let's say a Scrapper is worse than Tempest, no, Zubas, I need you. Like if Tempest gets better than Scrapper, let's just say, then that means you need one in every party. But it's so much harder to play. Where are you going to find that many Tempest players? You know, there's no way. They're not going to be as good, right? But then, here's the problem. With Warrior, now that Shake It Off is going to be a stun break for allies, which is very strong, I think you probably run this. That's really strong. Oh, there's plenty of LAs. Funkle is an LA player. He likes Tempest and GVG. I mean, I guess you could, Jeff, but I mean, you'd be a pretty shit LA. You'd do no cleanses. But I mean, so Shake It Off is going to be a stun break for allies, which means you probably want to run that, especially since Firebrands are going to get less stun breaks on their elite. But then you compete with Banner. But this is obviously a no-brainer. You cannot not run this. Impossible, right? This is a no-brainer. Now, Balance Stance, in my opinion, is only good if you're running Bubble. But Bubble is also very good, so you do kind of want to run that. So the only way that I see not running, man, what do you run? If you're running wins, like to me, you have to run Balance Stance. You have to. If this gets interrupted, your whole squad gets punished because they rely on you getting that wins off to push in, right? It's a big cooldown. It's a big deal. So if that gets interrupted because you don't have Balance Stance, then you're really sad. And your squad is very sad. But then you also want Banner, because Banner is fucking insane. But then you also want to stun break your allies. So I'm guessing you don't care. What do you change? What do you change? If you're running Banner, then you can do this. If you're running Res Banner, you can just do this, and you're fine. Right? You don't even need a stun break. Like this, honestly, you don't need a stun break. You could have just run this. That's what I used to run. If you're a support, super tanky, you don't need stability for yourself, you don't need a stun break. You're fucking tanky as fuck. You're fine, right? You go in with like your banners and you're fine. So I'm a little bit perplexed here at what you're supposed to run. Maybe you just don't run this. Maybe? I don't know. Maybe wins is just trash and you don't run wins. You just run banners. I don't know. That's rough. Unless you go Well, there's gonna be stab, right? Or resistance. There's gonna be stab on elite skill. Yeah, you're gonna have to run, but that's the thing. Like in GvG is even, you need this even more if you want to get your wins off. I'm telling you, man, it's really fucking good. And this is non-negotiable. You can't not run that. It's insane strips. And it procs like all your shit. Like you just destroy strips or boons with this. It's unblockable. It's amazing. In GvG, these are completely necessary. If you're running wins, you need balance stance. That is, in my opinion, and I would think most other warriors' opinion, a complete non-negotiable combo. You have to run these. So then you have this. That's amazing. I mean, I guess this is better. I feel like you just don't run Shake It Off. I'd rather, this is more value than to Shake It Off. I would, maybe. I don't know. Look at how much this fucking skill does. Like if you're pushing in with 5 stab, quickness, and pulsing resistance, then, you know, a stun break is okay, I guess. It also removes conditions, so like people get immobilized, I guess. But then the resistance already takes care of that. So I don't know. I feel like banner is still better, and you need this. Like if you're, especially in GvG, if your wins gets interrupted, your whole squad gets punished so hard because you're pushing into nothing, right? Like you're pushing and then you're like left to dry, like without a bubble. It's so hard, and then the enemy gets a wins on you, and then you're fucked. So I'm thinking this is still the play in GvG. I don't think you run anything else. And I think you still have to run tactics. Actually, I don't know. Defense is going to be nice. There's going to be some stuff with defense. I already forgot. Let's see. Are the patch notes out? Let me check. Would it be in forums? News and announcement? Is that what it is? I don't see it. Let's see. Reddit. I already forgot what the defense changes are going to be. Oh, thank you. All right. Let's see. Defense. Warrior. Okay. Game criticism, whatever, destroy now, grant someone server. What was the one that gave stability? There was like a way to get stability. Stability. Okay. Star Wars strength, disabling an enemy grants stability. Well, you have stability, you strike damage. That's all? It's not that good. Too situational. It's too conditional. Having to disable an enemy to get it. Yeah. Resistance at the end of the dodge roll is quite nice. Yeah, there might be a world where you run the defense instead of tactics. Tactics is so good for your team. You got the immobilize, you got so much. I don't know, it's gonna be interesting. Alright, Jeff. Appreciate you tuning in. And the sub. You have a good one. Yeah, I'm gonna end it here. I just want to have a look at the patch. Definitely very interesting. It's going to be a lot of changes in the way, not just not just in the classes, but just in the way that people play the whole game up.